Good morning, everybody, and welcome to NOAC's workshop on best practice in local government. I'm delighted to see you all here today. I recognise some familiar faces that I've met over the last year, and some new faces, and it's just great to have such a big gathering here today. So thank you. My name is Miriam MacDonald, and I'm chair of NOAC's working group on communications and customer service. And we're the group that I'd like to say organise the event, but we don't really. It's the Secretariat that does that, but we're responsible for it, I suppose. And it's great to see you all here. Thank you for coming, and thank those of you who've travelled some distance. Thank you also for making the effort. I'd particularly like to welcome Minister Cummins, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us here today. Hopefully you'll find it interesting. As you know, our sector has seen a huge amount of change. We've seen the creation of the new Mayor of Limerick, with the Planning and Development Act. We have the Local Democracy Task Force, and that in itself, I suppose, it's representative of the huge change that's going on for all of you within your organisations. And we see this when we do our scrutiny visits, our validation visits, collect our performance indicators. And those are growing and changing. As you know, we revise them every year in light of the new demands and the new requirements that are on yourselves. And today is part of that. And you'll see with some of the presentations, or all of the presentations, how different local authorities are tackling these changes using new methods, new technology to meet the demands. And today is about those presentations. We've had we had a huge number of submissions and ideas for projects. We couldn't pick them all. We'd be here for a few days if we had. But they were. That's not to say if you weren't picked that they weren't really good. We just had to be selective. And there are a few more mentioned in the brochure for today if you've had to have a look at it. And I know from even some of the scrutiny visits we've had, there are other projects that weren't even submitted that you are all working on, and just due to time constraints, whatever, you didn't get a chance to submit them. I'd urge you to submit them when you do get a chance. And we have our next workshop later in the year on customer service. So if anyone is doing anything in relation to customer service that you think would benefit other authorities to know about, please do contact us. So I said today is about presentations, but it's more than that. And, you know, the whole, I suppose, since we started these workshops, our focus has been that it's not about you just sitting passively and listening. There's a couple of elements. We have our panel discussions, and again, use those discussions to understand more what was done, see how it could apply to your local authority. But it's also about networking, and I know people have been doing that already. And that's, you know, we can get very isolated in our own roles, and it's so good on a day like this to come out of that, take the opportunity to step back, look at what you're doing, and also talk to peers in other local authorities, see how they've tackled, you know, issues that you're facing. So again, I think that's probably the richness of today, because we know following similar workshops, people have contacted others and worked out how to do similar projects. So again, I'd encourage you to network. And when I was thinking about today, just to sum up, because I'm not going to talk for very long, I was thinking, well, how do I sum up today? And I think really it's about, first of all, reflection. You know, reflecting on what you're doing and how you're doing it and how maybe you could do it better. Probing, which is back into the discussions, the networking, the panel discussions. How could it apply to you? How did someone handle a particular issue maybe that you're grappling with? And then identifying areas for improvement. And I always think, you know, when you come to a workshop, if you come away with just one thing, I mean, it mightn't sound like a lot, but I've been to a lot of workshops and seminars where I come away with nothing. The speakers maybe were brilliant and got you all excited, but then you think, well, what did I actually get out of that? So our aim is that you all get something out of today, whether that is connecting with somebody, getting an idea, thinking about your own role in a different way. And I hope that on conclusion of today, we will have delivered on that. But we need your engagement to make that happen. So just to finish, I would like to do the kind of thank yous. So this is a joint seminar between NOAC and the CCMA. And I'm delighted that we have here the Vice Chair of the CCMA and Chief Executive of Kilkenny County Council, Lar Power, and Lar will provide the closing address. I again would like to thank the Minister for being here, and we look forward to his opening words. I'd like to thank Kilkenny County Council and, of course, the Office of Public Works for this fantastic venue. We say this every year, but I think there's something about the energy in this room that really gets networking going. And particularly, I'd like to thank Anne and Aisling for all their assistance. I said my working group organises this seminar, and I said it was a lie, and it is, because it really wouldn't happen without the huge work of the Secretariat, and that's in particular Claire, Alan, John and Valerie. And of course, we also work in conjunction with the LGMA on this seminar, and I'd like to thank Eddie, David, Jacinta and Connor for their work. So, and finally, I'd like to thank the presenters who are, presenting isn't always easy, and people who make it look easy, it's because they've put a huge amount of work into it beforehand. And I know that all of the people presenting today will have done that and will have worked through. We give them a time limit for their presentation, so you really have to shrink it down. So thank you to all the presenters, and bon chance, as they say. And finally, thank you to all of you. This workshop wouldn't happen without your commitment and without your effort to come here. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and I'll hand over to the Minister now.
Thank you very much, Miriam, and it's fantastic to be here in these wonderful surrounds of Kilkenny Castle this morning. They even allowed a Waterford man in here this morning, so it's great to join with you. And I want to start by thanking Michael McCarthy and the NOAC board for your invitation to what promises to be an excellent showcase of the hard work and innovation that is shown by local authorities right across the country. Local government is at the very heart of delivering services to the public in this country, and I'm proud of the fact that I have served in local government as a councillor, as a mayor, before my election to the Dáil and the Seanad, so I have a deep understanding of and appreciation for the local government sector. Across Ireland, our local authorities deliver an extraordinary breadth of services, many of which are not always fully visible or appreciated, and their work extends far beyond what people might traditionally associate with local government. These functions are diverse, but they share one common purpose: to support our communities where we live, where we work, and where we visit. Local authorities touch the lives of every person in Ireland every day, often in ways that we don't even realise. The sector is a key implementer and driver of change in our country, and it has faced many significant challenges in recent times, as was alluded to by Miriam, not least in the areas of implementing our ambitious targets in areas such as housing, climate, and the retention and hiring of staff, to name but a few. In terms of today's sessions, I'm sure you've all had a chance to review the lineup and are looking forward to the engaging discussions that are going to take place throughout the day. And while it's my first time attending a NOAC event, I'm very well aware of the very significant role that it has in as an oversight body of local government. Over the years, NOAC has become an essential piece of the local government apparatus, and they've provided me as Minister, my department and the wider local government sector and the public hugely valuable bodies of work since it was established in 2014. To date, NOAC has produced 80 high-quality reports, and I'd encourage anybody to visit their website and explore all of the various reports and projects that have been produced by them over the last number of years. One of the strongest examples of NOAC's contribution is, of course, the performance indicator reports each year, which provide valuable information covering 11 key headings and allows the monitoring of how each local authority is doing in terms of its own progress over time and how they compare to each other. This in turn allows for continuous improvement as well as highlighting possible areas of good practice which can be shared in seminars such as today. Other essential work that's carried out by NOAC is its review of individual local authorities through its scrutiny process, which of course gives an in-depth analysis of local authorities and provides great insight into what's going on within a particular council. On that note, I know that many of you will be aware of the Programme for Government Commitment, and Miriam alluded to it there in terms of strengthening and reforming local government, and it was one of my first priorities when I was appointed as Minister of State for Planning and Local Government to ensure that we establish the Local Democracy Task Force and get it set up in a short time frame to report back to me with recommendations. It was asked to examine areas such as the structure, governance, functions and funding of local government, and the overarching objective set out in those terms of references for the task force was that it would bring forward a programme of reform to ensure that a more efficient and effective delivery of services would be delivered across our local government sector. This included an examination of the methods for ensuring greater oversight and reporting across the local government sector to assist public representatives in the performance of their duties. And I'm glad to say that the task force completed its work last week, and I've received the report, which has 23 high-level recommendations and 79 actions underpinning them. The task force has recognised in its considerations the important work that has been completed by NOAC in respect of overseeing and scrutinising the work of local authorities, and there are recommendations in that respect to ensure that we have an even more in-depth and transparent oversight of our city and county councils across the country. That report will be published in the coming weeks, and we'll have an implementation plan drafted and agreed by government. And genuinely, I want to thank everybody who contributed to that report from NOAC and all of the various bodies that contributed. It is very much appreciated by me as Minister, but also by my local government officials within the department. Something that strikes me, no matter the changes that we experience in the local government sector, whether it's through technology or other factors, the commitment is consistent across the local government sector to keep moving forward, drawing on a shared expertise and deepening collaboration and continually raising the standards of services that we provide to the public, because they deserve nothing less. I want local authorities to embrace a culture of excellence across everything that they do and ensure that best practice becomes common practice. And in that context, it would be remiss of me not to mention the focus that has been placed on the delivery of housing by local authorities in recent years. As a government, we have very significant and ambitious targets to deliver 300,000 homes by the end of 2030, and that simply cannot happen without our local authorities being ambitious and accelerating and facilitating the delivery of all forms of housing across all of our counties. Many councils are showing tremendous leadership and innovation in addressing the complex challenge that is housing head-on, and I'm conscious that you might not always get the praise that you deserve, particularly in media coverage, but certainly what I have seen in my engagement with the local authority sector is that there is strong leadership being combined with practical innovation and a determination to deliver results on the ground. But it is also true to say that while some local authorities are absolutely leading the way, others do have ground to make up if we're to collectively meet our national ambitions. Certainly areas and challenges around vacancy and dereliction and the efficient turnaround of social housing stock remain pressing issues, and the performance across the sector is simply not as consistent as it ought to be. It shouldn't be the case when I visit local authorities around the country and I engage with executive teams that there is a huge discrepancy, for example, in the likes of turnaround of local authority housing rolling stock, and that lends to the importance of why we have the performance indicator reports from NOAC, so that we can see in a transparent fashion the performance of local authorities across various areas. And by identifying these discrepancies in outcomes and approaches, it certainly allows us to clearly see where progress is being made and where additional effort is required. But it's not with a view of criticism, but for improvement and ensuring that every local authority has the tools, ambition and accountability needed to tackle all of the issues that we face as a society. So in today, I know you're going to view some fantastic exemplars in the areas of human resources, affordable accommodation, Irish language, purchasing, climate action and older persons, to name but a few. But as Miriam said, unfortunately we can't get to view all the wide variety of areas and projects that are delivering excellence across the local government sector. But it is that engagement with one another in a spirit of collaboration, in a spirit of learning, that we will deliver an even better local government sector for the citizens of this country. So to thank NOAC, to thank the CCMA, the LGMA and the local authority sector for your leadership and your work across the country. It is greatly appreciated by me as Minister, I know by Minister Brown and our officials within the local government sector, and to just wish you all continued success in your various local authorities. And I look forward to working with you as Minister over the next number of years. Thank you very much.
Minister, thank you very much indeed. I know your time is not your own and you do have to head off to another event in Tipperary of all places. But thank you very much for your attendance here this morning. Díomh Galéir agus tá fáilte róig go dtí Cashlan Kilkenny nach bhfuil sé go húnta bhfuil Galéir le chéile ó ceithre cúine den tír an lá spéisiúil seo. It's shocked in the Gaelga. I was told to make an effort and I think I did very well and nobody can say otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. You're very welcome to Kilkenny Castle for this wonderful event for NOAC today. Never before in the years of doing this have we had people sitting in the premium seats. This is new. It is traditional. This is a medieval castle and I'm concerned that you may decide that you have now got the right to throw fruit. I can confirm that is not true. Other things, yes, but fruit, no. It's wonderful to be here. It's a wonderful venue for this here in this beautiful round tower. 41 ghosts they have here in Kilkenny Castle. Not all of them working today, but they may from time to time interfere with presentations. That has been their primary motivation in previous years. So if something does go wrong, we are automatically going to blame one of the 41 ghosts that are happening to be in this particular location. My name is Jonathan Healy. I met many of you before at different events. If it's your first time, pretend like I'm good, will you, for God's sake? It's the only way we can get through this together. Quick show of hands. Who have we got here from the wonderful province of Connacht? Connacht, there we go. Yeah, a subdued hand putting up as we would expect from your rugby team. That is slack enough now. Who have we got here from Ulster? Yeah, that's okay. You have a rugby team too. It's all good. Who's here from the proud province of Munster? There we go. Yeah, a little bit more confident, but sure, the crowd that dominate all the time. Who's here from Leinster, ladies and gentlemen? Show of hands. There we go. Look at you all there, lording it over the rest of us like we don't exist. But the good news is we are a entire 26 county organisation, 31 local authorities represented here today. And the purpose of today, ladies and gentlemen, is to find out the good ideas that help grease the wheels in local authority. What you do on a daily basis often goes completely overlooked by the public. As far as the public is concerned, you are the source of and somehow the solution to all of the problems that exist in your respective areas. But what we're going to hear today is an example of the ideas that have been brought from the shop floor to help improve how your local authorities can work. And that's the purpose of today, to find those brilliant ideas and, most importantly, to rob them as your own. That is the reason we are truly here, because we want these ideas to inspire you in your own local authority. If you haven't had the idea, how could it maybe expand on something that you're doing? And more importantly, how could it make life easier that will free up resources to do some of the other tasks that you have been burdened with? Now, a couple of bits of housekeeping that we have to get through here. In the unlikely event of an evacuation, we would ask that you would leave by order of grade. So therefore, Lar is first out as Chief Executive. And then if everyone else could follow, just organise yourselves. It's fine. I don't know where you line that, Minister, by the way. You may be last. I'm not sure. It may be last. But if you can, exit out through there. There's an exit upstairs as well, if you can get out through that as well. That's very important we do that. We have got a way of interacting, because we've got panel discussions. And what we would ask you to do is, if you can, this is the one time we'll ask you to take out your mobile phones now, folks. Switch them to silent if you can. And very kindly, Eddie has put the QR code up on the screen. So if you can take out your phone, Minister, you've been called aside there, you've been called ashore, you better go quick. Better go quick. The Tipperary crowd are very unforgiving, as we know. Anyone here from Tip? Anyone? Good, we can talk about them. So if you want to click on that, it'll bring you into Slido, and there are polls and Q&As that you can do. So the first question that's up there, which local authority are you joining us from? So I'm going to put in my local authority, put it in there. I'm 3 kilometres on the wrong side of the other local authority, but proudly say I'm in this one. So I'm going to put this in here. There we go. And we have got a good contingent. Roscommon coming through nice and clear there. Tipperary, capital letters. Kerry, Roscommon, South Dublin County Council. You're all flying in there. So again, good representation. If you have a question, do not hold on to it. Put the question into Slido when the presentations are going through. When the question dawns on you, put the question in, because that will help us with our debate a little bit later on. To our lovely speakers who are here in the front row, you have 15 minutes for your presentation. After 10 minutes, I'm going to be hovering down the back, giving you a little 5-minute wave like that. And then after that, I will be standing next to you, ominously glaring, which means that your presentation time is indeed through at that point, because we have to try and get through as many presentations as we can. It will all be fine. If the slides go wrong, I have a dance prepared. It'll be grand. I've been watching Dancing with the Stars. Archie, you haven't asked me yet, but next year could be my year. So we have got 6 projects being presented today from Fingal, Offaly, Cork, Galway, Kildare and Laois. Now, obviously, I am not a local authority expert, so I'm not an expert in any of these, so I will be relying heavily on your questions, because I haven't a clue what half of these are. But I will know more when we hear the presentations. And will you please welcome, to talk about the first of our presentations from Fingal County Council, to talk about the Equity Register model for affordable housing, please welcome to the stage Emer Burke and Trish Matthews.
Good morning, everyone. You can hear me okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Emer Burke, and I'm a member of Fingal County Council's Housing Loans and Financial Management team. Oh, thank you. Yeah. My name is Emer Burke, and I'm a member of Fingal County Council's Housing Loans and Financial Management team. I'm here this morning with my colleague Tricia Matthews from our Affordable Housing team. Today, we are pleased to introduce to you a new module within the Aggresso financial management system called the Equity Register. The Equity Register will transform how local authorities in Ireland record, monitor and report on the financial transactions associated with the new Affordable Housing Equity Share in compliance with policy and the Affordable Housing Act. The Equity Register for Affordable Housing has been developed in collaboration with Fingal County Council's Housing and Finance Departments, along with our software. Moving on. Sorry about that. The Equity Register for Affordable Housing has been developed in collaboration with Fingal County Council's Housing and Finance Departments, along with our software developer partners, Ascendus Business Solutions. The module is currently fully operational in Fingal, and further enhancements and developments have been made to the module since going live in late 2025 to address additional operational needs based on key feedback from staff working daily on the module. The Equity Register emerged as a major process improvement during the migration of our housing loans to the Aggresso loans module. During this work, the housing loans and financial teams identified a clear gap in managing the complex calculations and data demands required for the new affordable housing equity. Building on our experience with the former affordable housing clawback, we recognised the inefficiencies of relying on fragmented access databases, multiple users over the years, and paper-based files. As sales of affordable homes accelerated in Fingal last year, the need for a robust, future-proof, centralised system became evident. The timing of the housing loans migration to Aggresso presented the ideal opportunity to develop a bespoke environment for the recording of the affordable equity within the existing financial management system. Without any defined guidance on how the affordable housing equity share should be monitored and recorded under the new affordable purchase scheme, a decision was taken in Fingal to initially record the equity for each affordable housing purchaser on the existing housing loan system. This system was over 23 years old, is no longer supported in Ireland, and the data is extremely fragile and prone to corruption, requiring multiple daily data backups. The recording of the affordable equity on this system was purely for data and audit purposes only, and there was no facility or dedicated mechanism on the system to accurately track the complex financial flows linked to the affordable housing equity set down in legislation. At the same time, the affordable housing team relied heavily on Excel spreadsheets to calculate the redemption or partial redemption of the equity. Excel, while flexible, also carries inherent risks. These risks include version control issues, formula errors, limited auditability, challenges in maintaining consistent, validated data across multiple users. Therefore, the requirement for robust data recording was intrinsic to the success and financial monitoring of the affordable purchase scheme. The teams involved with the Housing Loan System Changeover project, in collaboration with Ascendus Business Solutions and the Affordable Housing team, developed a new section within the Housing Loans module on Aggresso that would give more control to the Affordable Housing team to record, calculate and report on the affordable housing equity on a more centralised supported system. The aim of the new equity register was to provide improved visibility and control. The equity register directly addresses the risks I have outlined above. By moving from previous methods of tracking and recording to a fully integrated and supported financial system, we can ensure greater data integrity, stronger audit trails, and a consolidated financial picture that supports both operational accuracy and strategic decision-making into the future. I think I went ahead of myself there, apologies. Well, Tricia will go into the benefits of the equity register in more detail in a few moments. The equity register will allow automated generation of financial reports, real-time monitoring of equity movements, and streamlined presentation of claims to the department and financial reconciliation, resulting in faster processing time for those purchasers wishing to redeem their equity share, fewer manual interventions, ensuring accuracy and improved oversight and governance. The Equity Register also gives the Affordable Housing team greater capacity to manage and maintain its own financial records within the centralised financial management system. This reduces reliance on other teams in Fingal for reports and provides staff across both the housing and finance departments with a clearer and more reliable view of the financial data. I will now pass you over to Tricia, who will talk you through the organisational impact of the Equity Register, its functionality and the advantages from a day-to-day working perspective, and outline how it will support more accurate, efficient and secure financial management for affordable housing in Ireland into the future.
Thank you and good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. I think we have a small video to play, which will give me a bit of time to catch my breath. This video will just introduce, from a practical point of view, where the idea for the Equity Register came from and how important it is for the running of affordable housing in Fingal. Oh, I have to. Oh, oh no.
Don't listen to me. One of the ghosts is active now.
Yes,
Which one it is? Could be the blue lady.
the devil.
The blue lady is active in the tower. So anyway, do you know when I said I had a dance prepared? I do have I need a dance partner. So if Eddie can't get this sorted within an acceptable time frame, Foxtrot is looming.
Oh, okay, Eddie, get moving there now. No one wants to see that.
Well, the bottom line is what's in the video. I suppose that's probably the easiest.
So, what we can do is we can put it at the end.
Yes,
I
okay,
think that might.
Let's do that. So
yeah.
we'll crack on. We'll go back to the presentation, Eddie. We'll go to the video at the end. Is that okay? No, they're pointing. It's going well, isn't it?
It's great.
Going very well.
Not a bother.
If anything, you feel much better about your presentation. You really do, which is key. Now, there's
Okay,
the video.
I think we're going to roll it there,
Roll it
Colette.
there, Roisin.
I always wanted to say
Yeah.
Colette.
Yeah,
Show my
Colette,
age.
Roisin. Hey, my wife's called Colette. What are you saying? Hold on now. No, we'll Joe,
Yeah.
carry on the rest of the presentation. We can come back to the video. We can.
Okay, apologies there. So as my colleague Emer introduced me earlier on, my name is Tricia Matthews. I'm the Administrative Officer for Affordable and Cost Rental in Fingal County Council. And as I stand in this historic building, it strikes me that we are all changing history. And in the affordable team, that is by assisting people who cannot afford to pay open market value on a home. It's a very important initiative. And as we in Fingal move to the signing of our 1,000 contract for affordable sales, the need for this register is beyond words. So with the thanks to Emer, who had the foresight to come to me to discuss a proper model to record all of the equity shares for not only for my team, for the finance team and for the auditing team in Fingal that are currently there, but more importantly for those teams in the future. So this equity register will assist people who will be sitting in my seat in 40 years' time when most of the equities of those 1,000 homes will become due. And that role is going to be a very difficult task. So really our job is to make their lives as easy as possible. And this equity register is the key to that. It holds all of the data. It has an automated calculation engine through Aggresso. So most local authorities use Aggresso. I think Emer told me 23 local authorities use Aggresso. So you're well versed in how that model works. It has real-time data updating. So not only the housing team can gather their data quite quickly, our finance team and our auditing team can carry out their functions as well with the use of the equity register. We have integrated approval workflows, which again means that the finance team can at any time keep an eye on us and what we're doing, which was not always very possible in local authorities. We tend to be a little bit siloed. This system allows finance to just make sure we're on track. It allows us to make sure that we're compliant with governance, which is very important, particularly today when NOAC is in attendance, that we're compliant with all of the rules and regulations on the delivery of quite a complex housing initiative. So the measurable outcomes. Oh, sorry. Technology is not my forte. Green. I'm all about people. So the measurable outcomes. Oh, which are very important. We have a very small team in Fingal County Council. There are 9 very hard-working people delivering affordable housing in Fingal. To make their lives as easy as possible is crucial. And this system does that for us. It allows us to reduce processing times. So we are then ensuring that customer care is forefront, which is our purchasers are the most important people. As we all know, purchasing a home is the most stressful time in your life. The last thing you need is for an affordable team to make that more complicated. So this system assists us. if people want to pay a partial or full redemption of their equity share at any time, we have a process in place that's quick and efficient because of this system. Before this system, it was a spreadsheet on Excel, as Emer had mentioned, which has its own risks. We obviously have data accuracy because it now is a driven policy and procedure in our office. As soon as the ADPA, the contract for sale for the equity share is signed, the data is uploaded immediately, and that data comes from the information provided on that contract of sale. So in 40 years' time, that information was uploaded immediately from the signing of the contract. Real-time reporting, which is very important to my senior executive who's here today to support us, and our Director of Service and Chief Executive, and for the governing groups that look after affordable housing. We're able to provide real-time information, data, statistics, and provide the information that's needed to inform the future of affordable housing. We have a strong audit trail and compliance, and this is obviously very important. Again, very important for NOAC to make sure that everything we do is recorded for the safety of the local authority, but also for the protection of our purchasers. Why was it necessary? Emer has touched on this, that the system before that was an Excel spreadsheet with instruction in the Act on how to calculate a new redemption. This system, with the experience of Ascendus, we now have 100% confidence that our calculations are correct, whereas previously we might not have been in that position. There was a need for a centralised solution. I mentioned earlier, we're not the only team, we're not an island in housing. We need our support from our housing and our audit teams to make sure that everything we're doing is in compliance with the Act, and that essentially our purchasers are getting the best customer care that they can get. And that is also the requirement for accuracy and governance. So the rest of the speakers will know now. It's a little bit tricky. So, so who benefits from this? 5 minutes again. Who benefits from this? The most important people are our purchasers. I mentioned how stressful it is to purchase a home. Buying an affordable home has an extra layer of complexity. So who benefits from this is mostly our purchasers, which is exactly what we are here to do. With faster processing, my team work very hard. It's very, very complex. Anyone who has worked in affordable housing will understand that there are a lot of grey areas. So my team are under a lot of pressure. This has assisted them in more ways than I can explain. Our finance team, from that oversight position, they now can access the information. They don't need to come through affordable housing. They can work away in the background. And we know from finance people, they love an all spreadsheet. So it's in Aggresso. So they have lots of fun in there, seeing what we're up to. And then from an organisational impact, I mentioned again that reporting, data, statistics, providing information to government bodies, informing the future of affordable housing. This module is something that all local authorities should be doing at this point. And if you're beginning your affordable housing journey, there is no better time to do this. We were at least 3 years into our journey, and we had to do a lot of backdating of information to try and get it up to where it is today. So my advice, if you are considering if moving into affordable housing, if you are in affordable housing, this is the module that you need to have to assist you to deliver. Okay, I'm nearly there. Efficiencies, we've reduced our administrative burden. We've eliminated data spreadsheets that could go missing in 40 years' time. every time there's an upgrade in Aggresso, this will go along with it, the same as all of the financial management models. It's a cost-effective module. We piggybacked on the back of Emer's loans module, so it was quite cost-efficient to deliver. And it aligns strategically with the goals of the government, of local government, and I won't go into them there. You'll see where we are hitting all the targets that we were supposed to hit. The most important thing for today and for you all is the ease of transferability. As I've mentioned, it is an Aggresso module. You can work with Ascendus to install it in your Aggresso packages, and it will assist you in delivering affordable housing and will give you that security for not for you, but for the future and for the person, as I say, who's going to be sitting in my seat at a very difficult period of time.
Brilliant. Tricia, thank you very much. Tricia Matthews and Emer Burke, thank you very much for that. We'll let you take your seat again, Tricia. It just goes to show you how the nature of what you do evolves considerably, because it is a massive change. Like this, housing was always a thing in local authorities, but how you have to do housing now is completely different. And would you have taken it on willingly in the form that it came through to you? Probably not. Do you have to process it in the way that you do? Yes, you do. But what's good is you used a load of words I didn't understand, Aggresso and all these kind of things, but I understand that it is important to do that. Eddie, have we the video? We have the video. Hooray, we have the video.
Fingal County Council is tireless in its efforts to build homes and build communities across Fingal by building homes at scale and ensuring strong pipelines across social, cost rental and affordable homes. I'm the Administrative Officer looking after the delivery of affordable and cost rental homes, and I'm delighted to say that in early 2026, Fingal County Council will sign contracts for our 1,000th affordable home. That's 1,000 families, couples, first-time buyers, fresh start applicants that have bought an affordable home through Fingal County Council with financial assistance through equity share. Behind each of these homes, the Council has a legal and financial responsibility to protect the public investment made in affordable homes by accurately managing and recording the equity share committed on each of the affordable purchases, for now and for decades into the future. As the number of affordable homes in Fingal increased, it became obvious to the financial and affordable teams that a system robust and secure enough to hold all of the required data was an absolute necessity. As a team, we were faced with a real challenge. How do we store and manage decades worth of financial and legal information? How do we protect millions in public funds? And how do we support future teams who will be responsible for recouping equity shares long after the homes were purchased? Working with Ascendus Business Solutions, who are already engaged to develop a loans module for Aggresso, we saw an opportunity to work with them to design and build a tailor-made system for the recording of affordable housing. The result was the Equity Register module. The Equity Register provides a secure, centralised platform for everything related to equity shares. It records purchasers' details, legal documentation, property information, and every financial transaction associated with partial or full redemptions. Complex calculations, which were once time-consuming and prone to human error, are now automated. The system instantly recalculates remaining equities after each partial or full redemption. For our teams, this means faster reporting, clearer oversight, and consistent processes that reduce risk and protect public investment. The impact is significant. To date, Fingal County Council has registered the details of over 1,000 affordable homes on the Equity Register, and this equates to almost 69 million in equity share. All of the equities are now securely recorded and can be tracked for now and into the future. The register supports internal reporting, departmental grant drawdowns, long-term forecasting. It also equips us to plan effectively for the recovery of the equity share long into the future. Perhaps, and most importantly, this solution is not just for Fingal. The module is fully scalable and can be rolled out to any local authority delivering affordable housing. It creates consistency, strengthens governance, and supports the nationwide delivery of one of Ireland's most important housing initiatives. The Equity Register module represents best practice, innovation in action, built on collaboration, foresight, and commitment to excellence.
Brilliant. Worth waiting for. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Tricia. Two things struck me there looking at that video. That map where you kind of went from Fingal to cover the whole country just looks like what it'd be like if Cork did manage to take over. The whole country went red, but sadly you went 5 minutes over, which means no pastry for you at tea break. And I'm sorry now, but that's the risk. You diced with me, and that's what happened. Very good presentation on behalf of Fingal. Another round of applause for Fingal County Council. Gonna be Lamagwiv. Agus anish Tommy Degdol Gudi Kunte Uifalia. Up next we have Offaly County Council that have put something together on a special Tommy in mask shocked in the Gaelganish August Tommy Galera Egdain of Arnihil Biagan in Cora a yen of Oscaelga August Cosulum Fain Neilum Florshuk Oscaelga Octanum Biaganian effort. So now we have a wonderful way in which you can help everybody who is engaging in the local authority to practice their cúpla focal. Will you please welcome Lámhleabhar Gaeilge agus Tommy Kainte Agdishle, Anne-Marie Kelly agus Saivni O'Goy.
Díomh Corja agus fáilte go dtí Castlán Kilkenny. You'll be delighted to know that's the level of my bilingual element of this presentation. Saiv Niogan, our Irish language officer, is going to be the expert who's going to be speaking to you fully bilingually. For those of you that I recognise in the audience already, you'll be surprised I was even able to speak that much Irish. Yeah, including one of my bosses. So thank you. So we're delighted to be here today with you all in Kilkenny. As I say, my name is Anne-Marie Kelly and I'm joined with my colleague Saiv, the Irish language officer. And today we're presenting a project that started with a simple goal of making Irish more accessible, easy to implement and engaging for users, which can be replicated again, like Fingal said, across the public sector. I think it's quite funny we're going from one extreme to the other, but still something that can easily be replicated. So this booklet here that you'll see on the screen is version 1. You all have been gifted a version 2, 2.0, the next generation of it. The artwork is available for any local authority in the country to use. We designed it in-house on Canva. For any of you with comms teams, they no doubt are using that already. So just get them to reach out to us if you want the artwork. So that is literally the only cost. It has been printing the booklet for people. So the conversation in relation to this started with Saiv's predecessor, Sheila, and myself, because unfortunately we weren't very popular with Commissioner Chonga for the level of Irish language complaints that we were getting. So the objectives for this were quite clear. We wanted to create something that was accessible in a user-friendly format for both staff, and what was really important to us was for elected members as well to be able to bring this into their daily activity. We wanted something that we could actually lift and use straight away with minimal effort. And I'm channeling my colleagues here from Wicklow that I was talking to a few minutes ago and that I could see at a Meetings Administrator Network. I always thought R&D stood for Research and Development, but they kindly advised me that it was part of Reuse and Duplicate. So that's the Irish version of this booklet, is to reuse and duplicate. So we wanted to build capacity amongst our colleagues within our local government sector. And we wanted something, I was speaking with some of my colleagues earlier, I'm of the generation where I have PTSD from Gaeilge because I did Peg Sayers. So, but in Offaly, again, we want to do the right thing. We want to ensure that we're making Irish as part of our living language with all the activities that we're working on. I myself went to college in Wales, which was a bilingual town, and I managed to learn how to speak Welsh when I was over there. And it's the simple things, it's the repetition, it's the engagement piece, but most importantly, the people that I worked with made it accessible for me as well. So like that, we wanted to make Irish feel achievable for people regardless of what level of fluency that they had. And the focus throughout was on simplicity, consistency and replication. So just in case you're not aware, Offaly has no Gaeltacht area. Based on our Central Statistics Office stats, we actually have over 28,000 speakers from the ages of 3 and up. Again, those speakers probably have more Irish than I have on a fluent basis. We do have 3 Gael Scoilina across the county with no secondary Gael Scoil just yet, but that's hopefully in the pipeline. And when we were doing this, we were obviously very realistic in terms of what base we were starting from, but we also wanted to be optimistic with what we were doing. So we went and Sheila and myself, and then Sive later on, spoke about how we make Irish accessible, but also non-intimidating for colleagues who may not have used it since school. So the answer was simple. We wanted to create a small, repeatable habit, things that anyone can do. So, oops, Daisy, you're right, it is tricky. Yeah, super. So just to give you an indication in terms of how we've actually circulated the booklet to date. So you can see we've given it to elected members. We've included it in ministerial packs when a minister comes to visit us for whether it's the opening of a greenway or to discuss different housing projects. We've circulated it amongst staff. And then we've also circulated it amongst numerous committees, the likes of the LCDC, to name but a few. Our next steps, we've received queries from colleagues in other public sector bodies that operate in Offaly that they're keen to develop it. We started to share it with other agencies, and we're also developing it where we're bringing it into taking information out of the booklet and developing it into signage for co-working hubs. And Sive will actually mention some of the cúpla focal Oscuelga that we have as part of the local enterprise office and their work that they did as part of Seachtain na Gaeilge as well. So you can see that the booklet, although it started small, it has actually grown wings and legs, and it is expanding out throughout Offaly. So obviously I'm of course going to be promoting it, but we decided to include some testimonials for you as well. So and I didn't have any charade to, I didn't have to ask anybody to speak nicely of it. These are real examples. So we have one of our elected members here, Councillor Ollie Bryant, who's also chair of one of our SPCs. And Ollie will actually use this as opening and closing remarks for his meetings. Even at plenary session and at MD session, he's actually answering when they're doing the roll call by saying Ad Seo. He's acknowledging the Cathaoirleach when he's given speaking rights to say Gur Mágad Cathaoirleach. So he's starting to embed it in, and then we have other colleagues then because of that are doing that as well. Our Director of Service, Anne Dillon, who's my boss, you can actually see the comments that she has. She's been delighted in terms of how much work has gone into it, but also the reach of the booklet. So that's just some examples. Now, again, they have to really like the booklet, right? So they have to really like it. They have to be our leaders in it. But I also have one of our district engineers who, when I spoke to him about his testimonial, we have bilingual signatures in Offaly anyway as part of our email signatures. So one of the things when I asked Rory about it was, well, he said, I'm married to an Irish teacher. So I interpreted that the Love Leabhar found love for him. But he pointed out the fact that the Love Leabhar was actually an add-on that he could discuss when he went home in the evenings. He's been happily married man for over 15 or 20 years at this stage, prior to the Love Leabhar. But I suppose one of the far-reaching pieces is the likes of here Linda's testimonial from the KDA, the Kilcormac Development Association. So we all have development associations that we would engage with across the county and across the country. They have beautiful co-working hub. They also have a podcast studio in their site as well. And one of the things from conversations with her is that she actually wanted to have that as signage in her co-working hubs. So you can see that the booklet, which you all have in front of you, or the majority of people bar the front row have, we do have extra ones. You can clearly see we have information about how you can open and close a meeting, how you can do email signatures. So it's something that can be replicated further, for sure. So with the benefits, obviously the layout is an accessible format for people. For those of you who haven't opened the booklet yet, we have it laid out in 3 columns. We have what the English phrase is, what the Irish phrase is, and then we have the phonetic pronunciation Oscuelga to make it as easy as possible for people. in case you thought it was a typo or it was intentional to have it that way, to try and make it as accessible as possible for people. I suppose above all, it creates ease. It's easy to learn, easy to use, and easy to share. And obviously the repetition helps to build confidence amongst our peers. So again, you can see other benefits that are there, but that'll kind of just give you an overview in terms of what I've mentioned. The Law of Leabhar isn't anything new that we've done. Well, it is something new we've done in Offaly, obviously, but we're still trying to produce various different items bilingually. So obviously we're compliant with various different elements of the Official Languages Act by having our annual report, our corporate plan, Os Gaeilge. But we've also, at the end of our 5-year council term from 2024, up to 2024, from 2019 to 2024, the document on the left-hand side with all the images, the montage of images, was a synopsis report of everything that had been achieved in the lifetime of that council. So we produced that booklet in English and in Irish. So they're both available on our website to have a look at. And then the booklet on the right-hand side with the old courthouse, which is where Offaly County Council used to be in, we had that to celebrate 125 years. So that has a mix of both Irish and English articles in it. Again, all produced in-house, all done on Canva, no external costs except for the printing. Okay, so I'd like to hand you over now to Sive Ní Ógán, who will go through and give you a little demo herself and maybe a bit of audience participation, I'm joking, in terms of the pronunciation. But over to you, Sive. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for having me here today. As Anne-Marie said, my name is Sive Ní Ógán, and I'm just going to run through quickly the Law of Leabhar Gaeilge. So I'll press the green button and hope for the best. Okay, it worked. So just an example of a couple of the phrases and the layout of the book, really. So, like as Anne-Marie said, it's very simple, and like it's like simple on purpose because, you know, small steps can really have a big impact. An example of a phrase like "Good morning, councillors, Dia Weaver Maidin a Chorlori." As Anne-Marie mentioned, there's the phrase in English, there's the Os Gaeilge, and then there's the pronunciation. And another example of that would be, I would like to discuss X today, Bavolum X a Flay anew. And again, how to say it, which is very handy for those traumatised by PEG. So I'll go to the next slide now. So closing a meeting, again, so like really the content of the Law of Leabhar is based on actions that staff take every day and that councillors take. So because like it's quite short really, but you know, it's just a very synopsised kind of focused document, and as Anne-Marie said, you know, we can expand it further. So for closing a meeting, for example, you have does anyone have any more business for today? An will ein kuno ella again dinna dun law on you. And then we have sending emails. So we have thank you for your email. Gur mágad as the ria fust. And then with making a presentation, something like you're welcome to this morning's presentation. Tá fáilte roimh go dtí an cur láthair na maidine anew. I must mention that this is based on the most popular dialect, which is the Connacht dialect. I have Munster Irish myself, so apologies. So this isn't a standalone action. It's not just, you know, it's one example of kind of a multi-pronged approach that we've taken to the Irish language and really trying to promote it. So, you know, other things that we've done is like we have created a portal on our website, Shervashí Trí Gaeilge, where we've brought together all of the Irish language documentation and kind of like streamlined it so that people that are looking for their services through Irish and what we have available is readily available for them, and they don't need to go, you know, digging around through the website and through different pages to get the content that they need. So the idea that we have is that we're going to build that out so it's an Irish language portal, and it'll have things like events that are happening through Irish in the library, say, like we already have the Circle Chorals up, and details on them and so on. So that's one of our projects. Another one is like the year-round language promotion that all of us do. We're also work on VEX robotics in the Gaelscoilne, which is really good and really encouraging to help the children develop their Irish and also to have fun doing the robotics and learning. The Seachtain na Gaeilge events as well. And then another one that I'll mention quickly is the business booklet with Leo Offley, which is here. And we've also provided copies, and we also have more copies if needed. So this is just a little collaboration that I did with our enterprise office during Local Enterprise Week, which is also Seachtain na Gaeilge last week. Seachtain na Gaeilge is a funny one, as it's supposed to be called Seachtain, but it's actually 17 days. So, an opportunity to improve our Irish over that time. So essentially, this booklet is actually quite similar concept to the Lámhleabhar. In fact, you could almost say it's perhaps somehow like an evolution of it, where we have phrases for business owners and how to say them in Irish. And through research, we find that people are generally in Ireland more willing to spend money on things if they think it's Irish-based, and often through the Irish language as well. So this kind of gives a little bit of competitive advantage to business owners, and there was great interest in it during Enterprise Week. So that's it, basically. Anne-Marie will be taking questions at the panel, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We all learned a little bit with that now, which is good. And as they say on the Late Late Show, there is literally one for everybody in the audience. So you can take it home and dazzle your friends with it later on. I'd just like to point out, by the way, slagging off Peg Sayers, it's tough. One of the ghosts that haunts this building was friends with Peg. So is threatening to interrupt another presentation. I'm just getting the dig in ahead of time so for when it goes wrong later on when the video doesn't play. Our final presentation before we break for our panel discussion. By the way, thank you for the questions that have come in. Do keep the questions coming in. We are moving to my native county of Cork, and they have introduced an online purchase request form. And to talk us through that, please welcome Elizabeth Desmond.
Thanks very much. I've just realised there's 3 green buttons on it. Big one. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today about Cork County Council Library and Art Services online book request form. And there we go. So, first off, I would like to provide some context on this, because often when we speak about libraries, we talk about the very visible side of it. So the events, the programming, the school supports, and all the other very exciting and valuable things that we do. But the background work, as you all here know, is hugely important, and we're constantly looking for ways to make things more efficient, smoother, and also to have clearer processes in place for our branch staff. So, like many places, some of our processes were and still are paper-based. When I first started in the library, which is 25 years ago, if someone came into a library branch looking for a book that we didn't have, we filled in a paper form and we sent it up to HQ. Up until last year, this is essentially what we were still doing. The only difference was that people were emailing in the form rather than putting it in the post. Sometimes then they might email in a list of things that they wanted, and there was a couple of systems going on which were essentially about the same thing. Now, we have 25 library branches in Cork County and 4 mobile libraries. So I have 8 staff purchasing in HQ, so that is for children's stock, class novels, graphic novels, book clubs, large print, audiobooks, fiction, non-fiction, etc., etc., etc. And we also buy separately for our mobile libraries. Our combined stock budgets are just over €800,000. So you can imagine the scale of what we're doing day to day. So with print forms, email forms, and email lists being sent in, it was not only time consuming, but it also meant that if somebody was absent, we had no way to know what was requested and where it was for. So it did work, and the customer always got what they wanted, but it could work better. And that's the point where we started. This does all sorts of fancy things that I didn't realise. Now, so you'll see here how the request system works. So a library user requests a book, the branch staff complete a form and send it in to the correct staff member. Then if we purchase it, it's from our national suppliers. The book is delivered to us, it's checked, it's catalogued, it's distributed to the branch, and the requester is then notified. I'm going to pop all of these in here for you. So what we wanted to do was to streamline the process, to develop and implement a digital form for managing new purchase requests, replacing the paper and email-based system. This was in response to operational inefficiencies. So we do have a look at, that is the old form there that we were using up until quite recently. So firstly, we identified the problem and we clarified our objectives. So you'll see here. And this was through discussions, it was through looking at workflow and talking about ways to reduce paper. We examined our existing processes to clarify the issues that prompted the changeover to a digital form, such as duplication, lack of tracking, and inconsistency in submissions. And then next, we needed to design a simple form that had the key information on it. Now, collaboration was absolutely vital to this. And again, I leave that up there so that you can be having a look at this there while I'm taking you through it. So Cork County Council has a dedicated service design and transformation team. They're part of the overall Digital and ICT Directorate. We approached them and we began discussions to develop a digital form that would suit our needs. The platform that they use, as do many local authorities, is Granicus. Our stakeholders in this are all internal. This form is for use by library staff in response to requests from the public or in response to gaps that they see in their own collections. It's a big county, so there may be similarities in what people read, but there are also differences across the different areas. The stock management team communicated with key stakeholders, including the purchasing team, myself as Bibliographic Services Manager, and library branch staff to ensure that specific needs were met. And also we wanted to build support for the new system internally. Now this did take time because we wanted to get it as correct as possible for piloting it. And moving on then to the pilot and feedback, we tested the new system in selected branches. So we chose a variety of branches to ensure that we trialled it with different size libraries, but also varying levels of busyness. Because we knew it might not be the branch manager who's completing the request form and that they can go into their office for half an hour a couple of times a week. It might very well be the staff at the desk who are also dealing with queues and with queries. So we gathered user feedback and incorporated suggested improvements to make the changes before the new form rolled out to all the branches. So these were things like the necessity of ISBNs, for example, and what fields we wanted as mandatory. We were fairly flexible with our initial ideas of what would work, and we encouraged and accepted constructive feedback, and then we remained open to changes throughout the process. So the next part then was communication to all staff. Now we did discuss this quite a bit, including how long a lead-in time to give people, but in the end we actually decided to just jump right in and start it immediately. It was ready to go. We had sort of been mentioning it to people. We had written communication prepared for everyone, so there was really no need to wait. So we created clear how-to instructions for staff, which I then disseminated via email to everybody. Now, this was hugely important. Frontline staff are really busy. They need clarity and they need brevity. We also included a summary of why the changes were taking place to help them understand why this process was necessary. We also explained how a more efficient process will help everyone, and we also wanted to encourage engagement with the form. So the email that we sent out told them how to access it, you know, kind of click here, these fields will automatically populate, this is what you put in, you know, hit submit, those kind of things, and that you get a PDF then and copy of it at the end. What we said to them in the email about, you know, why are we moving to an online form? It is centralized requests, so all submissions are stored in one place, making it easier for the purchasing team to track and renew requests. Complete and consistent information. The form ensures all necessary details are included and that all are in the same format. Convenience. The request can be made at any staff PC with no need to locate a paper form or a template. Reduction in unnecessary use of paper. And then, very importantly, up-to-date and accurate statistical information. Should move on to the results here. This is not moving. Oh, hang on.
I told you, knocking pegs Sarah is a recipe for disaster.
That wasn't me. It's the next one. Great, there we go. At this point, it was out in the world, so to speak, out with our 130 staff members. So on this slide, you can see the form, but in the background, we were also looking at supporting tools and monitoring, and the reporting tool is also on this slide. We requested a reporting tool from the team for tracking data, which could reveal trends that influence resource distribution. The reporting can help with decision making at different levels. It allows you to select a date range, a branch location, and a request type, so fiction, non-fiction, children's. At a higher level, the report generated can highlight changes or patterns in the volume of requests. For example, if there's a big increase in requests coming through for children's services, it might show a developing trend, and you might need to review the budget that you've assigned. We actually saw this recently with a West Cork young adult author. There was a huge influx of requests for her books, and it turns out that the first book in that series is being turned into a Prime Video series. So now we know that we need to be buying those because everyone will be looking for them. At branch level, it can also show variation between branches. We refurbished Carrigaline, and they have submitted significantly more requests since their refurbishment, showing that they're responding to gaps in the collection. In contrast, Clonakilty have submitted very few requests. Now, Clonakilty are a hugely busy, very, very vibrant branch. In their case, the reason is a combination of them being satisfied with the stock they're receiving, but also having limited staff time available to assess what they need. So that tells us they might need staffing support, or they might need support from the bibliographics team in sending new stock or going there to review what's needed. Where something appears out of step with expected trends, it gives us a prompt to check in with the branch to understand the context behind the numbers. From the purchasing side of things, it gives a bit more of an idea of how much time is being spent by purchasers responding to queries from staff. With the old system, it was hard to pull the figures and look at how many requests were coming in, but now we can track it. So we monitored early implementation and conducted informal follow-ups to ensure functionality and to address concerns. In December 2025, we conducted a short survey with library staff to gather their feedback and opinions, and it found that of those who needed to use the form, 95% had an excellent or good experience using it, and 76% of respondents noted that it takes them less than 2 minutes to complete the request form. The results are streamlined and centralised purchase requests, improving tracking, transparency, and also improving team collaboration. Continuity of purchase requests being received regardless of staff absences or delivery delays or delays with internal post. Increased efficiency because of standardised data inputs. The online form will reduce paper usage in alignment with Cork County Council's long-term sustainability goals, and also provide accurate monthly statistics for informed planning and reporting. So I'm coming to the end now. So the stats. The forum went live in July 2025, and from then until the end of the year, we had 1,116 requests. 43.7% adult fiction, 31.5% non-fiction, and 23.3% juvenile. And 1.3% was other, for anyone who's doing very quick sums there. So, our next steps, just to finish up. So this was such a success, we wanted to move on to other things. So Children's Services have been working on a very similar form for use by the teachers to request class novel sets. They've evaluated how much time this will save, and it works out as 570 hours in a year. As this service is currently email-based, we won't be saving paper with this form for Children's Services, but in monetary terms, it will save €11,400 annually. That's based on a library assistant or clerical officer salary. I also approached HR and requested that our risk assessments regarding vetting be completed on a similar digital form. This is nearing completion and will make approving and tracking far easier. We've continued working with the service design and transformation team on both of these, and at this point we've established a very good working partnership. Staff on the ground have very real input into valuable changes, and this results in more support for the move away from old processes, as well as very real savings in time and resources. It's a very simple idea, it's very easily replicated, but it's also a very clear efficiency in organisational processes. Thank you.
Elizabeth Desmond. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'll ask you to take a seat over here on the panel, if we can. I'm going to send you into the HSE to do a job on the fax machines they're still using. That is one good way of doing it. We'll ask you to take a seat down there at the end, Elizabeth. And also, I would like to invite back up Aoife Lawler and Anne-Marie Kelly. And also, a round of applause, please, for Michael McCarthy, the chair of NOAC, ladies and gentlemen. Up you go, Michael. We let you take a seat there. Don't be fighting over it now, girls. Straight up there, no messing. We've a tea break waiting. Thank you very much indeed. Right, Michael, to begin with you, three very different examples, but again, the time and effort that goes into it pales in comparison to the benefits that are reaped on the far side. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today.
That's true, and you touched on this, albeit in a very kind of serious way, about the redness in Cork, particularly over Ireland. But I think
Michael's from Cork as well, just to clarify.
But to take from that, if we take the success of what's happening in Fingal, it's a really impressive presentation, and he explained it really well. I think it's the fact that that can be replicated across the other 30 local authorities. That's the strength, I think, of all presentations. But just when I saw that map at the end of Fingal, I thought, yeah, that's precisely why we're here. It's good practice. And it's showcasing that good practice. And I know the clear impact will be that, but the inspiration and hope is that as well, that other local authorities would look at that practice and emulate that and strive to have the same standard and level. And the Offaly presentation, quite interesting as well. I think when Peg Sayers was mentioned, there was a shiver went down most people's spine. But that's really, and like even the phonetic piece of the graph was really, really, really important. And I think it's a kind of a confidence issue about that in terms of how we learned Irish or how we might speak Irish. And if you take an example, I would often say this, like we have two great local areas in West Cork, but people generally kind of shut off when it comes to Irish because there's an element of, I'm not good at it, makes me feel stupid.
You feel a bit of a thick because a little bit like me saying at the start, when I try to speak in Irish, my brain doesn't function as well as Gaeilge as it does as Sperla, and I feel like an idiot. And I don't like feeling like an idiot. I do it naturally enough.
And we'll step back from that, and that's why there's an kind of conservatism. And the Welsh example was quite good because if you go to, you take second level schools, and someone who gets an A, like in German or French, have to study for 3 years or 5 years, and then someone who's done Irish for 14 years thinks they're struggling with it. And it's a classic example of asking people what the Irish for evil is. Most people say, I don't know. Well, most people that have gone, which is everyone, to primary school in Ireland, will say the Arnahar. And the very last line of the Our Father is, deliver us from evil. So there's an element of learning in that, but I think the barriers being reduced by the Offaly example is quite impressive. And that's hugely important in terms of trying to replicate that success. And of course, the example from Cork County, again, there's an element of, we're doing this well, please copy this, please emulate that. And like there is, as you go through the recurring themes as well, Jonathan, there is an element about, and we saw a lot of, particularly in Fingal, about governance and audits. That's precisely the kind of that's the modus operandi of NOIC in itself. So I think it's multi-benefit in all of those presentations this morning.
Well, I have to say, the one thing I will say, Anne-Marie, is I did Diarmid agus Grania, which gave us the best thing in life. Anything that ever went wrong was written off as Dríocht agus á bhéal. It was just anything that went wrong. It was Dríocht agus á bhéal. I had no control over it whatsoever. Some questions have come in from the floor here. What lessons would you share with other local authorities starting from a similarly low language base? Obviously, you know, there are authorities here that obviously would have a Gaeltacht or they would have a strong contingent, but coming from where you came from in Offaly, what learnings would you share?
One of the first learning I would share is to start.
Just begin, yeah.
Yeah, just begin. We came from a very negative space where the Commissioner Changa had us on speed dial in terms of our complaints. So
it's not quite the Spanish Inquisition now, but I hear you. Repeated calls are never good.
Yeah, never good. However, again, harping back to one of the slides where it showed where we were, we have no Gaelscoil, well, we have Gaelscoil in it, but we are not a Gaeltacht area. However, we can still excel in best practice. So every time we were answering a complaint for the Commissioner, we also attached an area of an activity that we had done well in. So he didn't ask us for it, but we shared it to showcase that we were actually trying to move forward with our compliance piece as well. Again, but it's the accessibility piece. And I'm conscious of, I have 2 children that are dyslexic, so their Irish is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
However, looking at how it's pronounced phonetically, they can do that.
Yeah.
So it's more inclusive for everybody.
But
it's
a living language.
Exactly.
We don't teach it as a living language. And there's one question here. How are the phonetics determined to account for accents differences in pronunciation? Because I think you made the point, you're a Munster Gaeltacht like myself, whereas someone coming from Donegal, you know, God love them, they have their own thing and their own way of doing it up there, and that's fine too. But how can you maybe catch everybody as best you can?
Well, I suppose that's the beauty of this booklet. The artwork is available for any local authority to adopt from us, free of charge, obviously.
Would you not charge a bid for it?
No, we're literally sharing the grow. So it's to make sure that it has the capacity that people can tailor it to what situations that they need. So, you know, that the Donegal Irish can actually have whatever pronunciation that they have phonetically in it as well.
Going back to the libraries, Elizabeth, the libraries are my favourite thing that local authorities do, because they are just fantastic at what they do. They engage their communities, they bring the kids in. It's a perfect example of lifelong use of the local authority if it's done right. I can't believe you were still sending paper records, albeit by email, up until relatively recently. So how quickly did librarians adopt this system?
Very quickly, actually. And like that, it's one of those things where all it took was one day to kind of say, why are we still filling in this form? And that's all it is. It's something, a lot of local authorities do it. It's the way it was always done. And I think libraries in particular are kind of hoarders, you know. We sort of like to keep records. So it's just about bringing staff on board. And I think if I was going to give one piece of advice, I think just make sure that you do communicate it to people, because libraries would have, people who've worked there a very long time. They like their processes, they know how it works, and they know that it does work. So it's just bringing people along then with that. But I'm delighted to hear that you have good things to say about all the work that we do.
It really is. And it was funny, I read recently, now I did buy it, Matt Cooper's book on the Dunn's family, which was, it was called Dynasty, and we invested interest, my family, back steeped in retail. But I remember saying to my mother, you have to read this. Now, I hadn't finished reading my one yet, so she wasn't getting that. But we went and we looked at libraries.ie and see if we could find a copy of it. But lo and behold, it was booked out because lots of people had gotten there in advance. But under the new system now, you'd be getting an advance notification that people really, Matt Cooper would be delighted to hear people like his book. But you're able then to respond in real time, which is brilliant.
Exactly. And I think something we pride ourselves on now is we have the books in the libraries pretty much the same week that they're in the bookshops. And there are long waiting lists. And I mean, there are budgetary constraints, but it tells us where to focus our budgets. So we're looking ahead all the time to what's being published. Like March is a huge publishing month, so there'll be loads of new books out. But when we see the lists, we will put a bit more money into that. The national request system is fantastic as well. So you can request it. See, once you start talking about libraries, I won't stop
Oh,
talking
no,
about
100%.
libraries.
We're all committed now at this stage. It's really, really important. But like, what's really good about that is that data is king. When you have the data, you can do more with it, and that's what you've been doing in Cork County Council. And equally, it's what you've been doing in Fingal as well, isn't it? Because ye were given this massive project of work. You were dealing with something that people they own, so therefore there's a whole different challenge with it. One of the questions from the floor here: what are the costs associated with the equity register? Was it expensive to set up compared to the return that you're now getting on it?
No, because there was an existing project in train, so there was a minimum procurement required, and the costs compared to the benefit were very small, and the cost of rolling it out to other people should be quite small as well, because it's already been developed.
Okay, so it's already in existence. Someone here really wants you to do their homework for them. Could Fingal operate the equity register for adjoining local authorities, asking for a friend?
Who does that need? I suppose that would be a decision for at a national level rather than for us. But we have housing practitioners networks where our colleagues share this information and provide any of the learnings we have. We're one of the earlier adopters of the affordable housing. Our chief executive took it on board. So we actually had what was an 18-month programme condensed into 3 months. So we had to react very quickly. So some of this work came later and we had to retrofit it. But it was a huge challenge for the teams and how they dealt with it and staffing of it.
But a little bit like Elizabeth, you have to navigate a paper world, an online world. Where's that record? That's over there. Did you scan that? And one of the questions that's asked here: do you scan and attach digital copies of contracts to each house record? How do you prevent it from becoming unwieldy and, more importantly, searchable?
So Fingal are pretty good on the digital services side of things, and almost everything.
No need to be smug
online.
about it. There's no need to be smug.
No, I did notice on the form, I'm thinking of a couple of areas that I work with that we do have emails and paper-based forms, so I will be going back to the office to talk to those teams tomorrow. But we do keep a paper copy of the ADPA, which is the contract sale, and it's with customer files. I know traditionally we've mostly kept tenancy agreements and contracts in case they're needed as evidence in court. So it's the information that's uploaded rather than the document. Whether we do that in the next upgrade, I think it is still to be seen.
But the funny thing is, this is a starting point. All three ideas are a starting point. They're not the end point, but now what you've done is you have created a base from which you can work further, whether it's the spreading of Gaeilge, whether it is the improvement in social housing that's going to keep coming, or indeed the improvements in library services. And Michael, that's what's important to take away from this here. These were problems. They addressed the problems. They now have structures in place, and that's what we want people to take away from today, isn't it?
It is, and ultimately, I suppose we need to bear in mind, and Fingal really kind of impressed upon this, particularly we say that kind of big issue of buying a house, and particularly in probably one of the most expensive parts of Dublin, let's be honest about it. So to introduce a system that's kind of customer friendly, because ultimately, and we can see this in the context of the kind of debate, the Minister touched upon it, the Local Democracy Task Force. I mean, local government is customer facing primarily, and is one of the kind of first public services, or the first array of public services we would be confronted with every single day when we get up, as distinct from, we say, the national issue. So it's ultimately really, really important that we impress upon the customer-centred focus or the citizen-led focus around these initiatives. I think collectively, let it be the LGMA, NOAC, CCMA, or the department, or the local authorities themselves, it's good to kind of corral all of that in terms of good practice and emulate that, but ultimately local government is there for the citizen. And it's really important to improve services, which are now well north of 1,000, the array of services from the local authority. So it's really, really important that we remind ourselves that ultimately this is for the citizens of this great country.
And brilliantly, the public may never find out about the three systems that we have up here, yet they're the ones who will benefit from it, and that goes to the core of this. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause please for Michael McCarthy, Aoife Lawler, Anne-Marie Kelly and Elizabeth Desmond. Thanks very much, guys. We'll leave you go down. Right, so we've had Fingal, we've had Offaly, and we've had Cork. Now, I did mention that I'm a Cork man, but technically, I'm from Galway because I was born there and lived there for 2 years before the good people of Cork got their hands on me. So in a game where Cork and Galway are playing. I have to plump for Cork, but my mother's appalled. So we're going to talk about the 60 Plus Climate Action Drive next. From Galway County Council, will you please welcome Denise Feeney.
Gormagat is even love Shai country and Kursi Aru Kairo to show Haktoshi Aniakari country Ero Aru I Mirla Nobak Le Guelga. So Anish today I'll speak about the climate action course in English, and I suppose the reasoning behind this whole course is simplifying things, and even when it comes to climate change and when we're delivering courses in English, it's the jargon can put off a lot of people. So the aim and the reasoning behind this course in regards to the background, the development of it and the rolling out of it is to simplify it for all age groups, not just the over 60s course that we're talking about today. So my name is Denise Feeney. I'm the Community Climate Action Officer in Galway County Council. I'm here with my colleague Tina Ryan, who's the Climate Action Coordinator, and our Director of Service, Michael Owens, as well. And we're here to talk about our 60s Plus Climate Drive course that's been rolling out not just in Galway but around the country since September 2024. I know Jonathan was saying earlier on it's very important that we learn from each other's projects and steal them if need be. And that is just what has happened to this course, and we're delighted to say it has been stolen and it's been rolled out in 14 different local authorities across the country as we speak. Jacinta, who I'll talk about later, who is rolling out the course, we would have loved if she was here today to talk about the course, but she's actually delivering it in Wexford today. And she was in Kildare last week, so it just shows the success of the project. So what is the 60s Plus Climate Drive course all about? It's a grassroots community-based initiative, and it demonstrates how local authorities can collaborate effectively with skilled external expertise. So bringing in experts that are out there in the community that have the time and are willing to work with ourselves in Galway County Council in delivering our message. We start off usually in communities with a one-off, 1 hour climate action conversation with community groups to give them the basic information of climate change, the reasoning, the science behind it, and changes they can make maybe in their own lives in regards to adaptations. And from that then we suss whether they were interested in moving on from there, and in a lot of cases they are, and it leads into the 6-week climate action course. It's been delivered across the county of Galway and in our Gaeltacht areas, and also countrywide presently. 14 different local authorities, as I said, have rolled it out and are presently being rolled out. And it's all about making climate change simple and encouraging behaviour change. So it's simple, conversational, around the table course, the one-off 1 hour conversations, it's chat around the table, and that leads into 6-week course, which is like a chat as well, for 2 hours once a week for 6 weeks. And it's getting rid of the lingo, and it's basic, simple language, talking about climate change. And I'll also talk about maybe, hopefully, the future growth and the possibilities for this course around the country. So who is Jacinta Barnes? Jacinta Barnes, she's a volunteer that's rolling it out for us around the country, which is unheard of, really. She is a former UN diplomat and worked in Asia, Africa and the Middle East. She's a former manager of the UN and NGOs teams and advisor to national governments, a climate mentor. She, a few years ago, did her Masters in Climate Change in the University of Galway. And she's the founder and the CEO of the 60s Book Climate Change. And that's all about encouraging the over 60s to discuss, challenge, influence and take climate action for a healthier planet. And Jacinta came to our attention and she called Tina and myself up in the summer of 2024 and we had a chat with her. But you know, you still have to see, well, what are they going to deliver when they're out talking in the community? So I live in Oranmore myself, so we used community groups in Oranmore as the guinea pigs. So I invited the Men's Shed in Oranmore and the Active and Age group in Oranmore to come and sit and listen to Jacinta for the 1 hour. And you could hear a pin drop. It was amazing how the 1 hour went. They were so engaged, listening to every word. She spoke in, you know, simple language, but using simple terminology about the causes of climate change and how they can change and make changes in their own lives to a positive effect on climate change. And would you believe they actually came up afterwards to me and says, how can we continue on and do something, you know, in regards to climate change and learn more. And that's where the 6-week course developed from. So Jacinta offers her knowledge, and of course a knowledge in regards to climate and environment, her experience managing large-scale climate and environmental projects. She's great communication, motivational skills, and of course her facilitation skills. She's worked with high-level governments right down to community groups. And what she has, and what a lot of us in the local authorities don't have, is the time. She's the time to deliver these courses, not just in Galway County, but right across the country. So why did we target the 60s plus age group? Well, 1 in 4 are over 60s in Ireland, according to 2022 census, and house ownership is quite high also. They have the retirement money, so they are able to make decisions around household improvements, especially when it comes to retrofit works. They can and do influence their friends, family and grandchildren. They have, I suppose, growing up, it was their era that did contribute to the high levels of the greenhouse gas emissions. And they have the time. And they also have the time to do the volunteer work, for example, in their biodiversity groups in their area, or the tidy towns groups in their area, or even in their own community to make the changes as well. The strong beliefs and why, Jacinta had really strong beliefs in why she wanted to target the over 60s, because she felt, and she is 65 herself, she felt that she included, until she studied climate change and worked in that area, did not really understand the how daily activities in their lives was related to climate change, like making the cup of tea or driving the car or the choices of food choices. And this age group did not learn the connection going to school. It was not something that they were taught while they were going through the education process. Most of this age group, having understood the link between their actions and the climate change, did reflect and were willing to take actions. And of course, this led then to the design of the 6-week climate action course. And it's 2 hours a week, and a lot of people can give the 2 hours a week. It's an informal session with a cup of tea, so it's a great social aspect to it as well as an educational aspect. And the aim was for them to understand the why behind the climate change is happening in our world, and then to facilitate and motivate them into doing actions. And that was the how. So there was a lot of tweaks in the first few courses to make sure, you know, we didn't lose the people when they were doing the courses, and they related to it, and that, you know, they were engaged throughout the whole 6 weeks. So we were learning as we were designing it, and so was Jacinta. So we start with week 1, examining the link between the everyday habits, actions and climate change, and just talking about a simple thing about turning on the kettle, turning on the washing machine in the middle of the day, maybe in regards to their shopping, how they shop, where they shopped, and just going through the link and the why. And then to also discuss the barriers to why they are not changing their behaviours. What is it? Financial barriers? Is it lack of opportunities for them? Maybe in regards to transport, if we encourage them to use public transport, maybe in rural areas there is no rural transport for them to use. Or they may be in regards to retrofit works. They were too scared or apprehensive about the works and didn't know where to go to get help. We also sat down with them and calculated their own carbon footprint, which they found very amusing, just to see how much carbon they were using on a weekly basis as well. Week 4 was all about selecting one action to work on. So it could be from a wide range of actions, from transport, housing, food, waste, could be biodiversity, everything from not cutting their lawn till maybe May, when we're all meant to be starting cutting our lawn, not March. Housing, maybe little things when we're looking into seeing maybe how they could do some retrofit works, like insulation works, maybe when they're turning on their lights, but sensor lights, maybe not having every radiator on in every room in the house when not needed, what times they were putting on their washing machine, and where they were shopping. Were they shopping locally? What type of foods? Were they looking where the food was from when they're picking up the bag of onions? Are they from Ireland, or did the onions come all the way in from Spain? Just be aware. The awareness was key, and that's where they would have picked one doable action, not putting pressure on them, but maybe one simple action they could do in their own household or lives over the 6-week period. And then the examine behaviours and barriers to them doing an action as well. What prevented them? and to talk that through and maybe see how we could overcome some of the barriers as well. And then the sharing of the progress and impact with each other. We found after 6 weeks they were nearly all in competition with each other to see how many actions they could do. It was nearly causing a fight at the end of the 6 weeks, but it was just so much learning from each other as well. So the course criteria, quite simple. It was about explaining in simple terms, with no lingo used, the science behind climate change. And the action, sharing actions they could do and any of the themes we just talked about there, and actually motivation, discuss how to overcome behaviour barriers. And who to target for the course and who might help. Well, first of all, ourselves in the Climate Action Unit looked to our own team as well, and obviously the Age Friendly Alliance group, every local authority has one, and our library teams. And we look to local leaders, so chairs of the local community groups, our local volunteers and our councillors as well, for them to be encouraging people to attend the course as well. We linked in, because I worked in the community section for 20 years as well, we had great links already with all the key community groups in the different geographical areas that we're targeting as well. So we felt people were more inclined to come if a person they knew was encouraging them to come, than instead of us sending out a cold email or putting information up on our website. It's about using the local people on the ground to encourage their own to attend. What the support the local authorities did was the whole advertising, hoping and linking Jacinta up to the local leaders as well and coaxing them to choose participants. We made sure the good geographical spread. We would pay for any refreshments or the venue as well if need be, and do any of the media in regards around it. We'd also bring in our own expertise, obviously people from the Housing Department to talk about the retrofit grants, the housing adaptation grants. We bring in experts from SEAI to simplify how to apply for a grant and what works the individuals can do in their own houses in regards to retrofit. I would talk then about the climate action funds that are out there for community groups to use, and also our biodiversity officer would come and talk about maybe different biodiversity projects they can do in their community. So progress to date, we've 26 groups set up in the one-off talks, that's the 1 hour talks. We've covered 14 counties and we've 475 participants have attended the 1 hour talks, which is an incredible figure. And as I say, they're informal chats. During summer, we love having them outside and around the table chats, and just to make it informal. No written work, conscious of literacy and other maybe fears people have. But so it's very informal and no written work, just the chat. Progress to date in regards to the 6-week climate action course. We've covered 15 counties, 19 locations and 475 participants. Still need a few more males to come on board, but we're getting there. The impacts of the course, well, each participant was taking on actions in all the different themes: food, waste, biodiversity, housing. Some of the projects that they and progress they made with regards to reduction of their car usage, maybe seeing where they could walk or use public transport. We're more aware of when to use some of the appliances in their own home as well, and reducing their temperature in the washing machine from 40 degrees to 20, and the oil heating, reducing the hours. Again, getting that information from SEI in regards to the retrofit works they can do and making it simpler for them and helping them apply for the different grants that are out there, changing their diet, reducing fasting and plastic and the amount of usage, and making sure if they're buying their bananas, for example, not always surrounded with plastic, and reducing air mileage, which is a big one, but they became way more conscious of it. Impacts of the course, well, the sharing of knowledge with the family, colleagues and friends. They have continued their actions. They really have changed their lifestyle. It just doesn't disappear once the course is over. They are very conscious and more aware of their actions now, and are more inclined to make the changes and raising issues with their local politicians as well to the door, and with their own family as well. The lessons learned was all about repeating the message in several ways and connect and make it simple, simplify them, and to give the course 6 weeks for allow them to absorb the concepts and trigger change. And then the 6-week course gives opportunity to witness change in behaviour, so it has a wider impact on the community. Lessons learned, the county council teams, our ideal supporters in regards to the climate action, the age-friendly team, our local leaders are very important, and the venue, make sure it's accessible as well, both from a disability point of view, but from a public transport point of view as well. Our hope is that this programme is mimicked in all of the local authorities across the country. Jacinta is willing to stay on board, which is great. She's hoping to do 8 more courses a year. So you're talking about 350 participants in the talks in 6 more counties as well. So that's the hope, which we're very appreciative that Jacinta is willing to work with us on this. Visibility and marketing is required to keep this course and scale it up. Local authority support is key. Volunteers. We would love if it became course accreditation, if we could give accreditation to people who are doing it and maybe get more mentors like Jacinta. That's the hope. But we need funds to be able to do that and more resources. Jacinta won our Cathaoirleach Awards. She won the Environment and Climate Action Award winner. She was the winner last year, so she was very excited about that, and it was great to give her such great recognition as well. Community engagement leads to community action projects. So because of all the engagement we're doing on the ground, it leads to great projects like your solar panels in the community centre. That's out in the Gaeltacht. You have the community gardens, you have the water refill stations and the bike shelters and so on. But that's only done by working with the community groups on the ground and individuals. Key learnings, well, we're not just working on the over 60s course, we're doing a variety of different courses as well to help with engagement of communities on the ground. And this leads, of course, we actually had the highest amount of climate action applications in the whole country, Galway County Council had. But we had over 4 million worth of projects received in the applications, and we had only 462,000 to give out. So we want to keep that momentum there, that excitement there. We would love if there was more funding and dedication to the Climate Action Fund. As of yet, we still have got no confirmation that the Climate Action Fund is going to go ahead next year. So we really would plead with people here present in the room to make sure it does, because it makes such a difference to community groups on the ground and obviously to climate change. Okay, thank you very much.
Denise Cornamila, thank you very much indeed. Plenty to consider there. I do like the idea of kind of mortal combat between the elderly. I mean, that's something we could possibly roll out right around the country, but really good ideas, and it just goes to show it mightn't necessarily be a consumer project, but it is helping them do better things and keeping local authorities in the right area as well. Yeah, more climate action funding, that would be ideal. To Kildare we go next, and they have got a HR onboarding app. I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit about AI, but anyway, please welcome Anne-Marie Goff and John Murnane.
Thanks everyone, but you won't be hearing anything about AI.
Great to hear.
My name's Anne-Marie Goff and I'm the Administrative Officer in Kildare County Council with responsibility for recruitment and superannuation. So I see employees coming in the door and out the door. So I'm here today to talk to you about our onboarding app. So where were we? Well, in 2020, our headcount was 1,141, which increased to 1,240 in 2024. So 99 is not a big number, as we all think. But during that time, 435 staff either resigned or retired. And when we were filling them vacancies, we're also including promotions. So there was a lot of files. You had over 500 files, paper files that we had to deal with, along with organising the interviews and the interview boards and probations. So where we started with the process was it wasn't automated at all. It was very paper heavy, and if anyone here knows me, they know that I've done records management for years and I don't like to see all that paper in an office. Everything was tracked between spreadsheets and manual forms being ticked. When, say, the references came in, we ticked it. When the, say, their birth certs come in, all of them come in, everything was just a tick box, which, as we know, can easily be missed. So it was producing large physical files. We had filing cabinets galore, and then when you're trying to find one, you could waste 10, 15 minutes trying to find one file. So we were also storing some of our information on digital platform. So our submit is our application process, which is digital. That was being saved, but we're also printing it off then to put it on the file, so double jobbing. Everything was decentralised, really. So the recruitment team would deal with the files themselves, but then when it came to doing the starting pay, that went to staff support. So there was a lot of paper going around the office. All of this made the management of the onboarding very challenging, because you couldn't at any given time just put your hand out and find the file you wanted. So we were also, it made it difficult to support blended working, and we all know blended working is a big thing now. And due to GDPR, you couldn't bring personnel files home, data breaches and all that. So in addition, the process itself is very complex and can be quite lengthy, especially if people require visas as well. So you have to be on top of all that. So ironically, we were firefighting, and they're one of our anomalies in the system. So we'll get to them one of these days. So what did we do? We contacted our IT department to see if we could work together to develop a solution to improve things. Now, initially, we were involved with innovation over a smaller system we were going to introduce just for notifying IT and facilities about people when we're starting. So that got thrown out the window, and this took over and grew legs. So for luck, John Mernan, who was allocated to us from IT, had only started with Kildare County Council, so had only recently gone through the onboarding process. So he knew when we were talking about PayPal forms and personal detail forms, he knew what we were talking about and had an idea. He's looking at me going, no, I don't. So we worked in collaboration to come up with the application that IT could develop with the suitable needs for HR. We have Dynamics, so it was a great platform to look at. We held workshops between IT and the recruitment team to discuss and evaluate all ideas, using an inclusive approach to the planning and decision making by encouraging staff to actively discuss and influence. This was most important because you will only get out of a system what you put in the system, and the people who will be using it are the people who need to put the input into it. There was no point in myself and John sitting down and devising the system, then we roll it out and no one can use it. So everyone had their input into it. No one's ideas were shut down, and Sinead Bonner was one of our key ideas person. She would come up with ideas at 12 o'clock at night sometimes. So we went through everything, all the processes that we carry out from the time we make the offer to a person to the time they start with us. And that was everything. So it was a lot, all the paperwork and everything. So it was very productive, like there was constant feedback through it. So we started in about February, and we rolled it out live in October 2024, so it was roughly about 8 months. When we rolled it out, it was basic enough, but as time went on, all through 2025, it was like, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do the other? And we were very lucky in that John has great expertise and could do a lot with us. He even decided he could intercept CORE to get some information for us. So where are we now? So now we have our onboarding app, so we do. So it's fully automated. So from the time that phone call is made, offering the person the position, to the day they start with us, everything goes through the app. So it does. So it's tracked, and we can track it in real time. So we can then see if it's taken longer for certain types of positions to be filled. As we know, the engineering and technical jobs are always the hardest. And you could be in the middle, you could have spent a whole month doing an onboarding process with someone when they back out. So that's all being recorded now. We have no physical files whatsoever. So that is the main thing. Everything is automatically, and we use SharePoint as well. So we do. It's fully integrated with iDocs, which is our filing system. So it is. And what happens for that is at the end process, when we update core with them and put them in and get their employee number, once their employee number goes into the system, all documents go to IDOCS. So there's no more scanning either. We have full visibility of the onboarding process. So if a section rings me to say, right, well, where's our clerical officer? I'll just go in at split second, I can see where the clerical officer is. There's no more, oh, I'll have to ring you back, I'll have to go try find that file. It's just all there at our fingertips. It was taken, I suppose onboarding was taking people away from other jobs as well. Like, it was so lengthy and time consuming. So now the onboarding process is, you know, we can do more things. You know, if we want, like, we're putting more work now into our submit as well and into other applications. So you're not being bogged down with all the paperwork. Now, you will see at the end stats that will back all that up. So the benefits of the system. So the recruitment process is now 99% paperless. The only bit is paper is the contract. So if there's any legal heads here who want to give any information how we're doing that, that is the only thing that we have that issues in paper to the employees. So it reduces the risk involved with documents going to the wrong files and emails, etc. As we all know, we can have people with the same names, very easy for things to go on to the wrong files. So this is all managed through the app, through email, and everyone has their responsibilities for each part of the process. It also reduces the risk of the data breach. We're no longer carrying files around, and especially when we're remote working, we don't have any files with us. It's saving significant man hours. So it worked out that we took about 45 minutes to scan an average personnel file. Now you'll see on one of the slides how much time that has saved us. So it's, and like that, we have the visibility at a glance of where every employee is standing. So I can say who's starting next week, who's starting in a month's time. It also captures a huge range of data that makes it available for reporting and dashboarding. So something we did last year, about 6 months ago, was in our submit application form, we actually put in asked them to put in their proficiency in Irish, because as we know, under the Irish Language Act, by 2030 we have to have 20% of the workforce sufficiently in Irish. So we asked them then questions in submit, and when they start employment then, we put that into the onboarding app, and then we can run a report on it. So we did a brief report, and Jonathan's given me 5 minutes there. So we'll get to that. So the most important thing about this, no budget whatsoever used. We used our existing systems, so we did. It was all developed between recruitment and IT. So we worked very well together, I have to say. So this here now is not a great, this is our active working screen. So as you can see, we have 14 active people who are going through the onboarding process at the moment. So that's the first screen we go into every morning. You will see on the left-hand side, it says current starter process. So once we agree the date, that goes into another screen. So it says agreed start date. So if I was looking to see when someone was starting, I'd go straight into that one. So then after that, it goes into the next stage, which is required further processing. So that's setting up on core, doing the manager's orders, things like that. And then the next stage is successfully move to IDOCS. Okay. Now, most importantly, one thing that was never recorded was when people turn down a position. So now we record if people turn down a position, why? And we know with the technical grades, it's more than likely money. So this is one of the reporting dashboards. As you can see, we started in October 24 to December 25, we offered 563 positions in that time. Out of that, 419 were successful. Now, probably 200 could have gone since, but 419 were successful. 130 people turned down positions in our local authority. And if you can see on the left-hand side of the grid there, I can actually drill down into the unsuccessfuls and see why and what positions there were. So that's excellent, you know, because we can work on that, so we can. It also tells us, you know, say how many clerical officers we've hired, summer students, graduates, and we did the National Planning Graduate Programme for our region last year, so it was great to be able to have this to monitor it. But this is my favourite screen, and everyone will love this one. So on the right-hand side, the efficiency gains. So 166 days, 13 hours and 55 minutes. We are not scanning. So that equates to 33 and a half working weeks that we no longer are using. So I think that's excellent. And then for our climate people, we have saved trees, and we have not printed over 15,000 pages, which is excellent. Now, the money saving mightn't look great, but it is. And as you can see on that, the biggest thing we are saving on is our application form. So we were double jobbing, had our application form on submit, but still printing it. We no longer do any of that now. We've also rolled that on a bit further in that we share all our data share file with our interview boards where possible. So we're really getting out of the paper. So what's next? Well, we review the app every quarter because like that, Sinead always has an idea, and she's got a few after being here today as well. So she has. So we investigate the possibility of including the contract as part of the 100%. So if anyone has any ideas around that. So developing the app to keep a better record of vacancies. Reason being, we had a core upgrade a couple of years ago, and all the vacancies got deleted. It didn't create a vacancy, it only created the posts for people who were in posts. So we had to rely on the old spreadsheet that mightn't have been 100% accurate. So we've also included now the transfer procedure as well, and our temporary contracts. We're going to manage through it. So we're hoping to integrate into the automating the IT setup. That was sort of one of the things initially was for. And we're also going to extend it to handling the offboarding. So we'll probably have to change the name. It won't be just the onboarding app anymore. But we're hoping that we will be able to get all this. That we've been very lucky that we've had John and Sinead working on it. And of course, the head of IT has let me have John for that length of time. But yeah, look, we have done demos for other councils, and we're always willing to share it around for you to have a look at. Okay.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Another great use of technology there. Having said that, we are going to hear from John. John, we're going to hear from you in a few minutes. John will later be going to try and solve the war in Iran because he was built up so much during that presentation. We need to use his skills as much as possible. From Kildare down the road a little bit to Laois County Council, to the one thing on the list today that I hadn't a bog's notion what it was going to do. So hopefully I will be a little bit more knowledgeable after we hear from Dermot O'Loughlin to talk about, deep breath, robotic process automation of MyPay superannuation starting process. Dermot!
It's a bit of a mouthful. Can you hear me?
You can. Okay, delighted to be here. My name is Dermot O'Loughlin. Delighted to represent MyPay here today and talk to you about a very important automation journey that we have gone through in the last year. And there's definite synergies between the last example in Kildare and also Cork in terms of forms and the hassle that we all have in terms of kind of manual forms. And this is an example of going from manual to digital. And I suppose it's about bringing Mandy to life. Mandy is our first digital worker in MyPay. And you can thank Regina, who's sitting there, for the name. Regina, in fact, delivered the project. So she also, herself and her team, came up with the name. There's a bit of a story around that. So I will continue on to explain a little bit about MyPay. So as you probably all know, we're the shared service for payroll and pensions across the local government sector. And I suppose our remit is to deliver accurate, efficient and compliant payroll and superannuation services, and that goes without saying. But we're fully committed to doing that in a best-in-class way in terms of customer service. We're always trying to be innovative in terms of how we deliver our service. So we're always looking at trying to improve and change and do things in the best possible way. And I suppose that's the story of everyone here today. We're no different, and we're trying to improve as we go along. We have to be transparent in how we do things, and we take great pride in our operations. So our procedures, our work instructions are all standardised, optimised, and we continue to improve and optimise how we do things. So a little bit more in depth around some of the stats around MyPay. So in terms of payroll, we deliver about 1,800 payrolls per year on behalf of the local government sector. So we have 30 local authorities, the LGMA and EMRA, which are the Eastern Midland Regional Assembly, onboarded into MyPay. So the only outstanding local authority are DCC, we've actually held initial meetings with, and we hope to onboard DCC next year. So those numbers will go up from about 54,000 pays to about 67,000 pays once we have DCC onboarded. And we do that to a very high level of accuracy. So we record any errors or mistakes that are made, so we're able to back up those figures. And in Superann-wise, we have 26 local authorities onboarded, also the LGMA and EMRA. We had a pause in terms of the Superann project, but we've onboarded 6 sites last year, another 5 sites to onboard. So again, a very busy period for us in terms of those onboardings. So our Superann team are extremely busy. As you know, Superann is a complex area. We're dealing with the LGSS scheme and a newer single pension scheme, and we deliver. We administer the single pension scheme on behalf of the sector, so over 16,000 statements per year. And also we have a very busy help desk, so over 35,000 cases go through MyPay each year. And we do all that in underpinned by quality systems, control and assurance framework. We're audited each year by Mazars externally to the ISAE 3402 standard. We have our own internal audit functions, and we also have a set of KPIs and an SLA, which is really a business agreement between ourselves and the local authority. So we have guaranteed turnaround times in terms of how we deal with our cases from both the local authorities and from individual payees or pensioners. So we believe we deliver a very good service in MyPay. So, like yourselves, we're trying to align ourselves and implement the various government strategies around digitalisation, optimisation and improve service delivery. Okay, so lots of strategies, and I suppose the example here today is one of those implementations. The challenge we had, and it's probably the key area in superannuation, when I would talk to our superannuation people and our managers, it was the one complaint I was always it was around superannuation starters. So anyone who starts in a local authority has to fill out a statutory declaration along with additional information that we require in MyPay to keep your records straight. Okay, so the volumes, as we've grown, the volumes have increased over time. Those forms are coming in, although we don't have paper in MyPay, they're scanned in the local authorities and sent into our help desk. So it's good that we don't have paper, but we still have scanned forms. So like our colleagues in other areas, this was an issue. And I suppose the volume is a problem for us. So, you know, we at the time of this project kicking off, we had about 2,500 forms. That has grown steadily. And it's a very low efficiency process. So that's an example of the form prior to our implementation of this project. So you'd probably be all familiar with that kind of a form. Most people hand write the form. Some people would type it. They would then give it into their HR department. HR department scan it, send it into ourselves in MyPay, our people then have to deal with that form. It's the whole process around the form that's kind of slows everything down. It's really complicated. So when the form comes into our help desk, there are various fields that have to be filled in our CRM system. Then we have to validate the form, and as you can see, the data can be a mess, so there can be a to and fro between ourselves, back to the local authority, back to the individual, until we get the information right. So completely inefficient. Once we get the form to the level that we need it, we would have to carry out various checks in the core system, so dates and various fields, and then we would add in the service history, which you can see at the bottom of the form, into the system and close off the form. So quite a convoluted, difficult manual process for our teams to carry out. So I suppose the vision, like other projects here today, was to automate that repetitive, inefficient process. And I suppose the key thing for us was really to, we don't want our people doing that type of work. We want to empower people to work in other areas, to be more innovative, more efficient in terms of how we do our work. So the day of kind of dealing with those kind of manual processes, I think you'll all agree, is kind of needs to come to an end. So this is a step in that direction, and also to align with public sector transformation. So for us, we had to go out and we had to find a solution for this particular dilemma or problem that we had, challenge. And I suppose it became very quickly evident to us that the solution was going to lie in the area of robotics and RPA. So what robotics is really good for, it mimics human keystrokes and interaction with systems. So we couldn't find a solution that would solve this problem under the hood by way of APIs or programming. So we had to come up with a solution that mimics the human activities. So that's why it became evident that RPA was the solution. Now, we worked obviously with our partners in the LGMA, who provide all our technology infrastructure and supports, and Dave and in the PMO as well, around how we could put this in place in terms of funding. And obviously the department were very good in terms of providing digital transformation funding. We couldn't have done it without that. And then we brought in Deloitte, obviously, and they used software, RPA software called Blue Prism. So when Deloitte come in, they won't implement it without there being a business case behind it. So they worked with us, they talked through with us the process, the steps, the time taken, and they were able to produce a proposal that showed that initially, given the numbers at the time, we'd have a saving of 1.3 FTE, and that would grow to 2.6. And in actual fact, they were quite conservative. We believe we're at about 3 now, and we'll gain additional efficiencies. And also on the right hand side, you'll see some of the kind of additional benefits you get out of it, like the quality, consistency of the data, because it's repetitive and it's robotics, it's always the same. Efficiency, time, and the digital worker, Mandy, works all hours of the day, nighttime, weekends, so very efficient in that way. Employee satisfaction, so we've been able to remove that kind of not particularly nice work from our employees in superannuation and put them onto other areas which people like. And then the whole customer satisfaction. So we had to work with the local authorities, staff in HR and in finance to adjust some of this process. So one of the steps we had to take was to move away from that handwritten form and initially go to a fillable Word form. So that was the big work we had to do. All the rest of the process stayed the same. That was the big work we had to do with the local authorities. And what that has given us is a consistent form, and the local authorities know that once it's filled out correctly, it comes in, it's going to be processed automatically, and that's kind of the end of it. So the other kind of good thing about this project was it's really quick. So once you do the initial work with Deloitte and do the proposal, it's a very short plan. Now, while that's good, in a way it was a real challenge to Regina and the team, because it was such a short time frame, and in fairness, Deloitte keep you on track. There's no slippage or very little slippage. So the phases of it are process design, so how is it going to work, and then they come and they build out the solution. At the same time, our team are building out our UAT test scripts, and then we get into the UAT phase and into delivery. So it's really short, about 3 months. So in 2025, we would have started this in or around after Christmas, and it was in place by the end of April 2025. So what do we get? Meet Mandy. It's our first digital assistant or digital worker, I suppose. And I suppose what we've gotten in MyPay is that big bundle of files of manual process that we've had to kind of have our team carrying out is now done automatically. And it's done in a consistent, fast, correct way. There's real savings there. So it's been hugely beneficial, successful for us in MyPay. How it works is kind of replicates the old process in a way. So the new starter comes in from the local authority in that new fillable form. Mandy then validates that form. If there's anything wrong with it, it sends it straight back. So none of our people even see it. It's all automatic. What the bot does as well is a lot of the time the form would come into us before the person is actually added to the core system. So when, in the old process, our people had to kind of journal it, go back, check was the person added, and that could kind of repeat a number of times. So the bot does that for us now. So again, we're not doing any of that. And then it saves the file to our drive, updates the ticket on our CRM system, and it updates core. So it adds in that service history information into the core system and closes out the case. So does it automatically. And I do have a video which will kind of demonstrate this. It's not the most exciting video, but it will demonstrate the automatic nature of it. Hopefully the video. So I just press the green button again. Yeah. No. Okay, so that'll give you an idea of just a couple more slides of the automation. Core, you cannot write to the core system any other way than doing that. They won't allow it. There's no APIs. So the only way to do it was using that robotic system. So, and you can see how useful robotics is to go into various different systems, read from systems, update systems in that kind of way that replicates the manual process. So when there's no other option, it's a very good solution. So the results for us have been very beneficial to date. So we process over 2,700 forms to date since late April last year. So we're due to be about 3,400 by the end in the calendar year, or by the end of the year up to the April. And when we bring on other sites and Dublin cities, that'll be about 5,500 a year. So practically all of those forms are automated. We've saved, at least 3 FTE. It's very consistent. It happens the same way all the time, so the data is consistent, there's fewer errors, and it's very much strengthened compliance. So one of our checks when we get in one of those forms is we have to ensure that that's coming from an authorised user. And while we have our procedures to do, and our people have to check those things, they are manual and they can get missed, but it can't get missed using the robotics. And then the biggest thing has been the human impact. So for our team, to be freed up from that work so we can move them on to innovation projects or other areas of superannuation. And just to be freed up from doing that kind of monotonous, repetitive type work has really kind of re-energised our staff. So finally, the key takeaways has been our kind of partnership with the LGMA, the PMO, the network services team, the LGMA, to deliver these kind of projects has been instrumental. Getting the process design right, being ready for UAT, that wasn't exactly right for us. We had to circle back and reiterate a few times, and there was a lot of pressure. And then that whole user engagement, which we think we got right with the local authorities. So we produced a video around how that new form would work, how it should come into us, and the fact it would be returned automatically if it didn't work. So for us, the next things that we're working on is further digitalisation. We want to take that fillable form, we want to make it fully online, on an online platform. We want to do further automation and further utilise RPA, so we think there are other inputs, for example, payroll inputs that we could use. And then we've a whole innovation stream piece that we're looking at. So we've just finalised an innovation programme in MyPay through the UCD Innovation Academy, and that is allowing us to come up and address other challenges within MyPay, but they're all interrelated, if you can imagine. And that's it. So, a project has gone well when the people in the team are bringing in cupcakes with the name of the bot on it. So we had a bit of a party after. So, look, that's it. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Don't stray too far now because we need to join the panel over here. Dermot, if you want to take the seat down at the end there. They were holding little kind of teddy bears. What were the little teddy bears in the picture?
Robots,
well, they were little robots. They were kind of representations of Mandy, which is good. Lovely. We will also invite to the stage Tina Ryan, champion of climate change from Galway County Council, and I suppose IT superhero from Kildare County Council, John Murnane. And delighted to say we are also joined by Emer O'Gorman, Chief Executive of Wicklow County Council. Up you come. Round of applause for our panel. Now, lovely to see you, Emer. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, 3 definitely unique ideas that are out there. We're talking about HR, we're talking about finance, we're talking about engaging people on a climate active level. But again, it's all about the clever use of technology and engagement, isn't it? Because the biggest challenge in every organisation, not to mention sprawling organisations like a local authority, how am I going to engage people? And these guys are doing it.
Absolutely. And something that nobody told me, when you get the job of Chief Executive, you also get lots of other committee jobs too. So I'm chair of the CCMA Finance Committee. I'm chair of the HPSS Programme Board now. That's Human Resources, Payroll and Shared Services Programme Board. That's Dermot's piece. And I'm also chair of the Digital Strategy Implementation Programme Board.
You can say no to some of those things.
You can't. They're very persuasive.
Okay. Yeah.
So the reason I suppose I'm involved in all of those is that each of those contribute to how we provide better services to the public and engage better with our staff. So the digitisation of services is one of the key pillars for government. We have our strategy, and everything that all of these guys here are doing is moving us to that space. I hate paper, and these people all hate paper too, which is great.
But we were really good at producing it. But ironically, as we kind of got on, and we all ended up having printers, we generated a lot more paper. So I mean, it became unwieldy and takes up a huge amount of time. The one bit I did understand really clearly from Dermot's presentation, it was a good presentation, don't get me wrong, I'm just a bit thick when it comes to financial things.
Okay.
3 full-time equivalents.
Yes.
Like, I mean, go to any CE and say you can have 3 people back.
Well, I think the power of my pay in particular is that it's not invisible, but if we don't have to interact with my pay, the job really, really well.
Yeah.
And same with the Kildare HR onboarding piece. If you're doing that correctly, there's less interaction, you know, at an individual worker, clerical officer, whatever it might be, with a member of the public or a member of staff. And that to me means it's working. And that, I mean, we can't even begin to talk about the climate action and the impact that has.
Yeah.
You know, if you start to change the hearts and minds of our older population, they then become instrumental in informing the younger population who are, they have their own views on things.
Well, they
but
become
it's
agents for change,
Yeah,
don't they?
absolutely.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
that's what you want people to do at the end of the day. Right, into the questions, if I can. Tina, first one for you. Does Jacinta train people in other local authorities? Oh, no, sorry, this is actually a question for... Who's this question for? Jacinta, who's talking? It is you, yeah. Does Jacinta train people in other local authorities to run the course, or do you provide the material for a local facilitator?
Yeah, so Jacinta is the volunteer who does the work on it and who designed the course. She would very much like to train other people to do it, and she does have some people who help her out with it, but she delivers a lot of the courses then in conjunction with the climate units in the various local authorities.
Okay. How important is it that we replicate Jacinta? I mean, I'm not saying that we have a device that can churn out various different incarnations of her like RoboCop, but that we empower people to become Jacintas, because every community is going to have one. You were just lucky to find yours.
Yeah, and actually what we found through the Community Climate Action Fund, there's volunteers in so many communities across the county that have such an interest and passion in this area, in sustainability and climate. So sometimes it's just giving them that voice and that support. So I think that's where the fund is so good. We've the same with young people. We ran youth climate assemblies in the last couple of years, and we've had loads of young volunteers that have come forward to run those activities with us. So I think if we give them a voice, when we have the climate units in the local authorities, it empowers us to help them then to get that voice out.
Now, the great thing about this organisation, with all your acronyms, I don't know if someone's taking the mick out of me or not, so I'm taking all of these questions on face value. Does the HR system integrate with the DH-LGH sanction process?
Yeah, well, it manages it. So that's when you have to get departmental sanction, level sanction for a position, which happens sometimes. It just depends on the nature of the position. So what we do is the app identifies that and puts the process into a status where we're awaiting that sanction. And it deals whether we get the sanction. If we don't get the sanction, we also have a whole alerting thing to, you know, so they don't just sit there. It can be a very slow process getting that sanction. So, you know, the process, that particular starter, the visibility of it can drift away, and then, you know, you have that whole life cycle thing of just trying to push things along. So yes, short answer.
Short answer, yes. Yes, would have been fine. Onboarding, can the platform be replicated in other local authorities? Is it freely available? I mean, that's the key question, isn't it?
It's very, this presentation is quite limited. It's very complicated. It does an awful lot. Now, it's not a shut door. We're talking to the LGMA, even talking to Microsoft.
Because no two LAs have the same.
Well,
IT
that's part
system.
of the thing. There's a whole load of integration with other systems for a start. So it uses SharePoint, it uses the Power Platform, it integrates with Core, it integrates with Microsoft Exchange. So if you're not using the same stack, it's not going to transfer.
Yeah.
So what we do is, no, but contact us. We talk to each and every authority, and we're obviously interested, at a minimum, in sharing the learnings about the process and what's involved in it and the complexity of it. It is a startlingly complex process.
But and look, it's complicated for a reason. But at the same time, the data points are probably going to exist in every organisation. It's about how you pull them in, isn't it?
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's systemic, and we can help with that. But we are looking at how to see. We can't productize it. We're a local council. We're not a manufacturer. We're not a vendor, and it is at this point pretty much analogous with being a full application that you go and purchase from a third party. But It's not, because
But
we
you did
built
it
it
in-house, which is not to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
sniffed.
yeah, absolutely. But so it's not to shut the door, but there are complexities to just going, here, you can have that now.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to MyPay. How much of the MyPay savings came from going from handwriting to the Word billable form versus the rest of the savings?
Can you repeat that?
I can, but I don't know if I'm going to make it any more sensible. How much of the MyPay savings came from going from handwriting to the Word, as in Microsoft Word, capital W, billable form versus the rest of the savings? So how much did you save?
Look, that would be an element of it, but it was the whole process whereby we got the savings. So the form coming in, the fact that it wasn't handwritten, right, that was an efficiency. But obviously, we still have to check certain information in the core system. We have to validate the form, key the information. So, you know, the fact that we eliminated handwriting was we had to do that to allow the robotics process to work.
But it makes it searchable as well. It's very hard to say, because I'm sure everyone here has lovely handwriting, but that can't be said for the entire population.
So like it was part of the overall. We couldn't have delivered the project without eliminating the handwriting piece. But then all the other pieces that the robotics is doing for us around the direct access into the core system, updating the CRM system, and doing that all automatically, so we can free up our people. So it's all, you know, it's not just one thing; it's the full length of the process.
A question here: where does Dermot think that Mandy could be used further across local authorities?
Well, there's lots of forms out there, manual forms. Now, there's a cost to it, and because we're shared service and we have volume, it works for us. But I'd imagine some of the larger local authorities would probably have, you know, significant volume as well. We feel that it could work in kind of other, other applications for ourselves. So down the line, we're working on a new payroll system. Not the software system, the input side of it within MyPay, and a service delivery platform. So we believe when we have that in place, we may be able to implement robotics on some of our payroll inputs.
I asked a question on behalf of the end user here. Robotics is great, but we also know what it's like to be talking to a robot that doesn't listen to you. How are you avoiding that? Is it all back-end robotics?
It's back-end
so you don't see it?
It's even hard to imagine it from showing a video, because you don't really see. It's like someone just... So it's all back-end. Like, that just works away. We don't... Like, you kind of become kind of immune to the fact that it's just there working away in the background. But the key thing is we've been able to free up the people to work in different areas.
MyPay... what is the 2%? It's 98% automatic. So what 2% can't?
So there are some cases, for example, in the older scheme, like the LGSS scheme, where we have to assign those to our teams to look after them for various reasons. So there are some manual checks that we couldn't automate, but it's a very small amount, so it's kind of almost insignificant, to be honest, so we can handle most of the process automatically, which is a big win for us, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It reduces the stress and time. You can see where they were so happy holding on to their little dollies in the picture. Emer, 3 different things here. I think I was talking to Claire earlier on. She was telling me that NOAC started doing this in 2017. In 2017, it would have been hard to get your head around the 3 things that we're talking about here, which goes to show you the rate of change, the pace of change. And, you know, if you were to go out to the people on the street and ask them about their local authority, they mightn't realise what's happening in terms of public servants pulling themselves for a lot of the time into the future. But that is what's happening here, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, I've been fortunate enough to come to these events over the last couple of years, either as a director of services, you know, with particular responsibility, or more recently as chief executive. I always come away with it with an idea that I can beg, borrow or steal, you know, or replicate or take something on board for it. But it is that huge jump in how we go about our business, and a lot of the work that part of the LGMA are doing is on the digital strategy piece, the piece about form filling. We have a multitude of grants that interact with the public, and we're looking at how can we streamline those processes as a sector. Like, we have built to share models, we have shared services. So how can we do what Kildare are doing? Maybe not exactly what Kildare are doing, but a version of that benefits all, so that if the sector does it once. We don't have to do it 31 times. And that then, as you said earlier, frees up humans to do other work interacting with the citizens, which is what our job is about, serving the people of our
nobody
counties.
appreciates banging their head off a wall, but I'd imagine it would have felt like that with the volume of paperwork that had come in, the complications that have been put in with social housing coming in, or climate change. It's about helping people, whether they work for the local authority or whether they are the users at the end of the day.
Absolutely. We want to make our services that we provide, be it housing or planning or paying your motor tax, whatever it might be, as simple and as straightforward and as citizen-centric as possible.
Somebody asked, can these presentations be recorded in the future and shared as individual videos? Could be shared with the relevant section or people. It would help us spread the message. And I am told, ladies and gentlemen, that presentations are recorded and will be shared in the coming weeks. I would have dressed better had I known that they were being recorded, but there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause for Emer O'Gorman, for John Murnan, Tina Ryan and Dermot O'Loughlin. We'll leave you to take your seats, guys. Go Margaret. Thank you so much. As I said, question about whether you're taking the mickey out of me or not. One question did come in via Slido. It says, question for Jonathan, will Cork win the All-Ireland this year? I think the football is beyond us, but we probably will beat the hurling, and it was definitely asked by a Limerick person. So don't worry, we were only taking the mickey out of you the other day, warming you up, kind of lulling you into a false sense of security for when we meet you in the championship. Right, it's been brilliant having you here today, and genuinely I think that there are ideas that you can take and bring back. And as I said, rob, or at least in Kildare's idea, rob the idea and develop your own. But the point is ultimately, everyone's leaving here today a little bit better informed about what kind of things are being done elsewhere that could benefit them in what they're doing. We are delighted, as always, to be hosted here in the fine city of Kilkenny. Will you please welcome, to close out the event, the CCMA Vice Chair and the Chief Executive of Kilkenny County Council, Mr. Lar Power. Lar, over to you.
Good afternoon, all. I'm conscious I'm in the graveyard slot. Now that Jonathan wants to talk about hurling, he's in the home of 36 All-Irelands. So he knows better than anybody that he's about 6 behind all that as we speak. So I think last year was a tough day on them, and I think he'll agree.
Would you stop it now? Leave me alone, will you?
Can I just say to you, you're all very welcome to Kilkenny, to be honest, and we're delighted to have you here, and we're delighted to have you back in this venue, and I think you would agree it's an exceptional venue for this. I think it's a good space. It contains a good number of people, and there's a big crowd here this year. I think it's bigger than ever, to be honest. And I think people enjoy coming as well, and look to our speakers. Thanks a million. We're here to hear you, and you did great. So thanks a million for that. Just a little bit about Kilkenny, if you don't mind, at the start. This is the Whistle Stop Tour. It covers 2,100 square kilometres, which in old money is about 810 square miles. It has 104,000 people, and it's one city and 52 towns and villages. And interestingly enough, different to some of your own counties, there's no other town in competition with the city. So everything comes to the city. The city is a cosmopolitan city with a medieval history, and I don't know if any of you were here last night, but if you were, I hope you enjoyed it. I think you will find the restaurants are excellent here, and my favourite is right across the road called Rinuccini. Look, it's an entrepreneurial county, and I can say that because I'm actually not from here, and John is going to love the next part because I'm from Wexford, and we've only got 6 All-Irelands. But would you believe there's 6,000 registered businesses in Kilkenny? So it's a very entrepreneurial place, and companies that you would be familiar with, the likes of Tirlone or Banking 365 or VHI, and some homegrowns like Clune Technology, which are very big, $1 billion company. Set up by a Wicklow man who decided he wanted to live in Kilkenny. And he just sold a very small snippet of a company off last year for the price of 650 million. And his name is Terry Clune, if you've ever have the pleasure of meeting him. Those 6,000 registered businesses actually employ 46,000 people. It's a strong tourist spot, as you can imagine. And to put it in perspective, we get about 390,000 people visit here, domestic visitors, every year. And I suppose it's worth in excess of 70 million to the economy. And overseas-wise, we punch well as well, in the sense that we have 160,000 of those. The city itself, as I said, is 27,000 people. I hope you've enjoyed the hospitality. If you haven't stayed here, I would advise you to do that. As I said, I'm a Wexford man, and I visited often prior to ever becoming the chief executive here. We've 17 hotels, would you believe, which is quite a lot in a county of our size, 3,500 bed nights, and 1,000 more in the Airbnb, bed and breakfast or guest house space. And just about the council itself, then, and we've heard some of the numbers today from the likes of Kildare, etc. We've 24 elected members, 762 staff, and we're, as yourselves, we're required to have a capital expenditure programme, and we don't do it over 3 years, which is mandated. We actually do it over 6, and our capital programme is over €1 billion. And on the revenue account, some of you would consider this quite small, but we're 130 million. So as I said, for those that travelled last night, I hope you enjoyed it, and the request is you come back. For those that haven't visited, you don't know what you've missed, so you need to come. So to come and see. My name is Lara Power, as Jonathan said, and I'm the Vice Chair and of the County and City Management Association. Paddy Mann is our chairperson, the CE in Longford, and Paddy was very eager to be here with you today, but unfortunately his absence was unavoidable. So he just asked me maybe that I cover the closing remarks, and I won't keep you long because Jonathan will tell you at 1:20 the tape rises in a place called Cheltenham, and I'm sure there's many in the room wouldn't mind having a bet on a horse. I have to do that myself still, so we're going to be out here by 1:20, I can tell you. So look, just to say on behalf of the CCMA and Paddy, just to say I'm delighted to draw the event to a close. It was certainly very interesting and very informative. And as you know, it's the NOAC good practice in the local government sector. So for me, I think it serves as a testament to our local authorities' commitment to innovation. Local authorities continue to engage with emerging technologies, which is obvious by the 6 presentations, and adapt new ways of working. And today we've seen innovation that is innate and ever present within the local government sector in Ireland. The Public Services Strategy, titled Better Public Services, is brought to life daily by people like you in this room. This strategy is about finding new ways to deliver and design services. Today we've witnessed numerous examples of just that. So we've been treated to excellent presentations, and I want to thank all the presenters for that. And I suppose we've learned about the Equity Register from Fingal, Love Lara from Offaly, yes, get the right sheet, and the online purchase request form in Cork County Council, the 60+ climate change drive in Galway County Council, HR onboarding app, and finally in Kildare, and the RPA of My Pay superannuation. Each of these is an example of how the local government sector is leading the way to solving complex challenges with innovative and transformative solutions. In addition to these examples presented today, I would encourage you to explore other impressive initiatives showcased in today's programme, such as Dublin City Council's Cortnamona Core Project, the Demo House in Maynooth project developed by Kildare County Council, and Gaelga 365, an Irish language innovative programme for Dublin's local authorities led by Dublin City Council. And I suppose at the level of government closest to our citizens, our local government sector has developed and implemented innovative and transformative solutions. So for me now, it's just time to thank those that were here. So to that end, I want to thank first and foremost Anne Tehan and the OPW team here in Kilkenny Castle for hosting us in this venue. To Michael McCarthy, Chair of NOAC, and all the members of NOAC for their invaluable support in shaping today's event. To the NOAC staff of Claire, Alan, John and Val for their contributions to the event. Pauline Mulligan, the CEO of Local Government Management Agency, along with her team, especially Eddie, David, Jacinta and Connor, for their hard work in bringing the event together. To Jonathan, always on his game in fairness. I was watching him go up behind me. I was sitting at the back. Every time he moved, I was going, is he going to go to the centre and put up that hand? Every time he did. And then he goes back to his seat, and as the 5 minutes pass, he comes back up again. Then he starts to invade the space. But Jonathan, look, you've always kept us on time. It's great to have you here. Very professionally done. I have to say that, and always has been. And I suppose we shouldn't forget the Brodricks for their technical support that made the event possible. And to speakers again, look, a huge thank you. It's great for us to come and see the great work you've done. It's great for us to observe it and to see could we take it back into our own local authorities and learn from it. And, you know, it's great to share these initiatives. And for the audience, just to say to you, thanks a million for coming. You've bared with us. There's very few after leaving, I notice. They're obviously backing the 120. Nicky Henderson, I suspect Nicky Henderson could win the first 3. There's a tip for you. But anyway, look, I hope you've taken something away from today. You can take it back into your own authority. See, do you want to steal it or improve it? Or look at another system and look at if you have success in that regard, that NOAC might bring you up here next year to do a little presentation. So thank you all very much. Enjoy your afternoon. Lunch, I imagine, is across the road.
Yep. Yeah.
Straight across the road. Fabulous lunch over there. Safe home. Welcome back, Nicky, for the first 3. Remember? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for that, sir. Just tiny bits of housekeeping from me. First of all, he's serious. In your local authorities right now, we had 6 brilliant presentations today. We've 31 local authorities. There are other good ideas. Do not keep them to yourselves. And let's see if you can be here at next year's event for NOAC. Lunch, as Lara's correctly pointed out, if you are staying for lunch, you can go across the way to the Kilkenny Centre, literally across the road from us here in Kilkenny Castle, and grab that. More importantly, where's the nearest bookies? It's around the corner here as well. If you want to bet on the 120, you've been a fantastic... For loads of them, loads of bookies. Thank you so much.